Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Okay, good. Yes, I can. You're the first here. Stardust, Adam Green, also going to be here. I'm going to switch the panels and just put you guys right here in the middle of the screen.
The League of Extraordinary Atheists.
That's right.
Fedora Squad.
All right, now let me try. Here comes Adam Green, who was very excited about this, by the way. All right. Okay, so I don't know if he has some line of questioning to pursue, but we're going to see. Now, hold on. Let me block out mine because obviously we don't need that. Okay, and then Stardust will join and in a moment as well. Now, let me try to fix it for the screen because obviously we don't need the giant Killstream logo there. I'll mess with it a little bit. Till we get it right, till Stardust gets here. Then it changes all again. I have to move it around again. But how you gentlemen doing this Friday afternoon?
I am recovering from apparent COVID, so not great.
So basically. Much for the vax. Didn't you get vax?
Oh, wow.
Oh,
yeah. Whoa.
Wow.
Okay,
well, I'm sure it would have been worse without it.
Oh,
right?
shit. Now, wait just a minute.
Well,
you did promote the vax.
I took a test, and I don't, according to this test, I don't have COVID, but I have a lot of the symptoms and, dry cough, fatigue, headache, all that good stuff. But I'm doing a lot better today. So I think the vax saved me, along with my mega dose of horse paste, which Adam sent me. And I think that probably saved my life.
Horse paste. You mean worms medicine? Horse medicine?
Yeah, well, I was making an ivermectin reference. No, I have not taken anything outside of vitamin C and some magnesium and zinc, and I've just taken some basic stuff, and I'm good. I'm gonna survive the COVID. That damn lab.
The vaccine's so
I haven't
important.
got it. I don't think I've gotten it.
But it's so important. Why aren't they pushing it anymore, though?
I think there's just a limit to what you can do with people. I think everyone just decided to move on, and yeah.
I saw a clip recently of Rand Paul questioning this. I think it was the CEO of Moderna, and he's like, "Would you get your kids vaxxed?" And he said, "How many times have they been vaxxed?" And he's like, 3 or 4. And then he laughed at him. But you could tell he was very likely lying, and that he didn't want to say he's going to get his kids vaxxed.
Or are you saying Rand Paul or the Moderna CEO?
The Moderna.
Yeah. Well, I imagine he will. I mean, I think it is a little bit ambiguous with children getting vaxxed, just because they're so they have such an ability to overcome these kinds of things. Certainly with even people my age and older, I think the vax is pretty slam dunk decision. We might have a big disagreement.
Well, I didn't
plan on talking about. I wanted to talk about
if
the.
I die suddenly on this broadcast, you guys can just laugh. Well, hopefully you'll cry, but before you cry,
add you to the documentary.
You will be posthumously inducted into the Killstream Hall of Fame after your myocarditis induced passing. What were you gonna say, Adam? Now we're still waiting on Stardust. Is late. I wouldn't expect a Pakistani girl like her to be late, but she is. And so we'll see if she makes it or if she's involved in something else there. We'll get her in here. I'm just messing with her. But what were you going to say, Adam?
Well, before I get to that, what's up, Ralph? And thanks for having me back on. I'm enjoying the Cozy Rosie birthday videos. It's beautiful to see.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun yesterday, and it's definitely been cool. I did get to see my son as well over the weekend. Unfortunately, I can't take videos and show stuff from that, but that's how that goes. But
he knows. Everybody knows. He knows.
He knows, and I got to see him, and so I just want to shout out Xander as well. and it was definitely great. Cozy Rosie's birthday yesterday. It is.
She's
one
so
of a
cute,
kind.
man.
One of a kind. She really is. She really is the cutest, I have to say. Now, all right. You know what? I'm just going to start it off. This is going to be my question anyway. One of these Larry King type questions at the start here, Richard. What's the most pressing issue facing us, just as the world, as global economy, nation, right now?
Well, I think we're watching history take place and geopolitics change with an apparent alliance between Russia and China that occurred at this meeting between Xi and Putin earlier this week. And I do think it's major. I mean, I think sometimes we have a tendency to overreact and be like, oh, it's a neo-Cold War, it's on. And, you have billions of people aligned against the West and all that. But, I mean, I think it's actually correct. The Chimerica arrangement that has been huge throughout my lifetime, I think is going to slowly wind down. And Putin is demonstrating that he's not alone. He's got some people who are at least willing to be photographed with him. And I think this is a major geopolitical event. And I do think the world is going to be increasingly divided between East and West. It's a kind of repetition of what occurred before. I mean, Mao Zedong met with Stalin, and I think it was 1945, almost immediately after the war. And at that point, Stalin was, big brother, Mao little brother, and it's kind of like, you're going to look east, I'm going to look west. Most of Europe is going to fall to communism almost immediately. We know that for sure. He was, of course, wrong about that. And we have it's not as triumphant now, of course, but I think it is fairly similar. And I do think that the world, we took a step toward a bipolar.
Russia's basically, I mean, almost a vassal state in a certain way of China. If China was to withdraw their support of Russia, it's a game over. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And I think that she set that up just to let Putin know who the real big dog is. You know what I mean? I think it was kind of
I think
it was
there's
showing
some
power
supervision going on. So I had a good conversation with this last night on my my Substack group, and we actually have a member who's very knowledgeable, and we're able to kind of get into the details on this. But I think there's going to be some supervision of the Kremlin. So I think we're going to hear less of this, like, let's nuke London tomorrow morning, Medvedev, shit posting type stuff. I think we're going to see a lot less of that because China absolutely does not want that. China can obviously benefit from massive natural gas reserves. It can benefit from, if Russia is successful in subduing Ukraine, it can benefit from the breadbasket. I mean, I hate to say this, it can benefit from women. China has a weird demographic, mass majority male demographic through the one-child policy. So there are a lot of things that can happen. But yeah, obviously China is in the driver's seat in this relationship. But yeah, I mean, I think it's absolutely major. We were suggesting last night. I mean,
hold on one second. Let me let this go through.
He was sent $3 a Hurrian Critter Jew, a metrosexual reform lasers, and a grown female Danny DeVito walk into a bar.
By the way, how did this get in? Because I stopped that. And I'm wondering, it's on in the other scene. I have to turn it off, and do I have to turn it off in all the scenes? I don't know. I'll look through. But now we gotta slide back. Chat absolutely seething at my China vassal comment. But the point of the matter is, I was right with what I said about that. And it's not that they tell Russia everything to do, or they're completely running the state, or Russia doesn't have vast resources that they could have, of course, deploy however they want and fight China and do whatever the fuck they want. Yeah, all that's true. What I'm saying is, if China withdraws their international support, then Russia has absolutely no more international support. worth a damn, and they're out to hang, basically. That's what I'm saying by that. I don't mean that China, completely controls Russia or Vladimir Putin. Obviously, that's what I was saying. Russia.
Well, I mean, I don't think you're wrong in this suggestion that Russia is a vassal state vis-a-vis China. I mean, the power differential is tremendous. I mean, Russia's economy, despite its huge natural resources, despite its nuclear weapons and all that kind of stuff, I mean, it has an economy the size of Italy. I mean, I would not wish this upon my worst enemy. I mean, I think there's a threat of the West, engaging a regime change in Moscow and kicking out Putin, installing a liberal democracy and gay pride parades or whatever. I get that. Well, there's another threat of being dissolved into the dragon. And I wouldn't wish that upon my worst enemies. I mean, I don't, it just does not look good for Russia. No.
Now, what about the overall war for Russia, though? I think that does. Hold on, I'll let this. I don't even know how this is going through.
No social sector dollars, Russia and Ukraine is to China as World War II Britain was to the United States.
How are these?
Is that Andrew Tate?
Yeah, it was. It was Andrew Tate. I don't even know how these are actually going through. I'm going to have to figure this out, though, now, because I'm like, how in the fuck? They're actually muted on everything. But they're still going through. Maybe they're just determined to get the TTS, and we might have to deal with that today. Which I don't mind. It throws the guests off a little bit. That's usually why I turn it off.
I hate it.
Well, I know, but I can't. If I can't stop it, there's like a ghost version.
Interrupted by
there's a ghost version of it somewhere in the background. I literally have it.
Insane robot. Most often.
I have them muted, but there's a ghost version somewhere in the background. Hold on, let me make sure it's not there.
Well, wait till they start getting the Indian accent robot out. Yeah. That's what they do when I'm here. So. Yeah.
Welcome to Stardust.
Love that one.
Welcome to Stardust as well. We'll bring her in here in a minute. But now, what about the overall war effort in Ukraine? I think that's going a lot better for Russia.
Well, I think they're in a stalemate. I mean, it's going better in the sense that we're not seeing major.
Well, how many Ukrainians do they have to kill? I mean, you know what I mean? How many? Is that the type of situation it's going to be? Like, there's eventually going to run out of Ukrainians to die. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I mean, Russia has a huge population advantage, and they can just throw convicts at the situation. I mean, yeah, it's absolutely horrible. But I mean, the general context is that this has been a total disaster for Russia and humiliation. But I agree that if Putin can maintain domestic stability, he can keep this horror show going for quite some time.
Getting the support of China seems to be a win for them in the war, I would say.
Well, but China is not offering lethal aid. China kind of took a selfie with Russia.
They may, though. They may. That the U.S. is threatening that they better not. But
right, exactly. Blinken said there are going to be serious consequences, and that does. I mean, you can kind of stand back a little bit and see the road. It's kind of headed in that direction.
Yeah, but what is the serious consequence? They can't do shit. I mean, what are they going to do? Like,
well, I mean,
China
I think
really wants
been
to
a lot of moves of winding down Chimerica, and China now has a domestic economy that they too might want to move beyond the Chimerica arrangement, which was of course made in China, sold at Walmart, basically, and they have
with
a huge
Kissinger and I'm forgetting the other names, but who helped deindustrialize America and outsource it over to China, and now they're going to pull the rug out from under us.
Donald J. Trump sent $5. Very disappointed in you, Richard. Why not regular cheeseburgers? Mushroom Swiss, how gay.
Okay.
Wow.
I'm going to.
They will never let that one go. That, of all the Spencer memes, I find that one
piece of diary from Mom's Token Massa, but that shit burns.
Okay.
Dude, okay.
We got to stop this topic.
Okay, I'll have to figure it out. I honestly
this
do
is
not.
your show.
I understand that. I understand that.
Audience in control.
Oh, you've never had a tech problem? What are you?
Talk about audience capture.
Ethan, how can you have a tech problem like with a essential function of your show? What's going
I have
on?
Power Chat turned off. Let me see if I can. It's
Hello,
not
Stardust,
on.
by the way.
Robo
I've never met you
$5
before.
the outright
Nice
to
to
the
meet
left
you.
all agreed on
You too.
disliking neocons over the Iraq War. Do we still have that now with Victoria Newland and Robert Kagan, or has this
I'm
position
super surprised
changed?
the Indian accent ones haven't started coming in
Okay,
yet.
I think it's coming up from that one, even though that one's turned off. I tried to refresh the cache and maybe that'll stop it, but that was actually a pretty fair question from the super chatter there. It wasn't.
Who was it to? I didn't hear it.
It wasn't Cobra level. It wasn't top G level. All right, now let me just try
Will Fast
deleting
send
it.
$20. Retards are gay.
Yes,
There we go.
retards are gay. Okay, now let me just remove it, and we'll see if we can do it that way. But it said the alt-right to the left all agreed on disliking neocons over the Iraq War. Do we still have that now with Victoria Newland and Robert Kagan, or has this position changed?
I mean, I can take that unless you guys want to jump in.
Yeah, I mean, I figured that would be for you, yeah.
Okay. I don't think we're in a neocon situation, and I don't think we should just
556 sent $3 Stardust. Why were you late? Brown woman can't get on time,
All right.
but a white man and white vax
I'll
tranny
go
were
through
both
every
on time.
panel.
Last time I was the one on time. Okay, last time I was the one on
All
time.
right, look, I literally have no idea how it's coming through, but I'm going to figure it out. And now they're doing it just to fuck with me, so I can't really.
I don't think we should equate the Russia-China situation with the Iraq War. The Iraq War was a war of choice that directly benefited Israel, that had to do and also had to do with oil politics and stuff like this. This is different, and it's really a return to 20th century politics. I think they should be separate. But yeah, I mean, it is remarkable in the sense that the right it's not entirely. I mean, you can still find kind of like the Romney element or even the McCarthy element that are pro-Ukraine. But generally speaking, the degree to which the right is just actively pro-Russia and pro-Putin is remarkable. I mean, we've had a total flip from the Cold War days, so that's interesting. But yeah, I don't know. We're not going to ever be isolationist. I think that's a bad goal in general. I think we're going to have to engage with the world and engage with these things, and
that's what Dugin wants, right? Isolationist policies. That's what he called for. And he was also real big on the multipolar world order, right, which we're now seeing with Putin and Xi, talking about a new era and the Belt and Road Initiative with China, and Israel's working closely with Russia and China. They're the only ones to not sanction Russia. All of this animosity towards the West, the satanic globo homo West, this aligns so closely with, I don't know if you've seen the videos that in Judaism, they see the West, America, and Europe as Edom. And kind of Christianity, kind of Europeans, white people, and in the end times, they all need to be destroyed. I've with all this happening, I wanted to have Spencer on my show actually, but Ralph beat me to it, and to ask him these things, because he used to be in these circles, and in the last few years is basically, kind of calling out the Russian propaganda and the Russian shills and stuff. So I wanted to hear your thoughts on the Dugin connections to this, maybe.
Yeah, well, okay, I can start. First off, I think a lot of that multipolar world stuff is almost a morality in search of a geopolitics. And what I mean is that it seems to be a moral claim that you're not allowed to mess with us, kind of thing. And so it's almost like liberalism on the basis of nation states, where like we'll have our little traditionalist community and you'll have yours, and you won't come into ours, we won't come into yours. So it's this moralism that seems to be the basis of it. And what's happening right now isn't exactly multipolarity. I would say this is bipolarity. There's a kind of East and West, China, Russia.
Well, it's Russia, China, the BRICS, India too. They just made a deal with Saudi Arabia and Iran, Syria also. True. It's basically the whole world versus America, Israel, and Japan. And I feel like Israel will betray us if it comes down to it in the drop of a bucket.
I've literally taken Power Chat off every scene on here, so I literally have no idea how it's coming through. Wait,
Flash Gordon
maybe
sent
it's pulled up
$3.
in a
Richard, you
window
almost
somewhere.
got me killed. I was driving my car near Starve Rock listening to the Seaville Trail when you said, I quote, big voluptuous ideas. I almost put the car into the Illinois River. Hotter than hot stuff.
Okay.
I swear I have deleted it from everything. I'll keep going through the windows.
I think there was I think with a lot of us there was this, and I'm talking about myself 10 years ago, there was a sense that we're just going to be dissidents here in the West, and if we start kind of looking to Russia as a bastion of civilization and tradition and stability, et cetera, that's a good thing. America has lost its mind, et cetera. And I can see a lot of that type of sentiment on the right in general. My ex-wife played a big role in this with me, as I've said. So there was a degree, if I look back at my tweets and comments and so on from 2014, I can see a lot of Jack Posobiec and Candace Owens in there. It's a kind of remarkable thing. The slogans and memes haven't changed. It's just the people saying them have.
You're not getting the RT invites anymore, huh? It's been a few years.
No, it's
RT
very
invites.
sad. Yeah.
So I think this is such a big story. I find it mind blowing that like the left hasn't been headlines everywhere about Richard lately, because he was, undisputedly like the figurehead and the most prominent figure in the alt-right, which was all very pro-Putin, and Dugin seemed to have a lot of influence. And in the last few years, he's basically like calling all this out. And you'd think this would be like a big confessional story that they would want to run with. The leader of the alt-right is saying, talking about Putin influence or this kind of stuff.
They don't want to do it because it would make me look good. So I think they want to take another angle on it.
Part of it is also a lot of them just don't trust Richard, unfortunately, sorry from Richard, but a lot of them just don't trust him. And the most echoed thing I've heard complain is like, he's going to talk about his Apolloism, so yeah, that's essentially, which is like, I don't think you really, I don't know that I've heard you talk about it that much, honestly. So,
well, right. I mean, even if Apolloism is a serious commitment, that doesn't mean that what I'm saying about geopolitics isn't true as well, So it's a non sequitur. I don't think they want to make me look good. I've talked to a few people about this who are almost on the verge of writing an article on it, and then they kind of didn't go over the finish line. So, it's okay. I just speak the truth, I can't.
Okay,
I can't control what the,
by the way,
media loves
I
me
think
or
I
hates me or ignores
fixed it by just turning down the volume of the TTS in the actual panel of Power Chat. So I do think like behind the scenes in the back end there. So I think that I figured out how to stop the subverters, which I don't even understand how it was still playing since I literally went through every panel. People see it's popping up now. No, how?
Spencer still hasn't read lock. Who's smart now? Whore.
All right, I'll find it.
It's almost gotten worse.
Okay,
that's see. A funny comment. Oh, that's Sargon of Akkad too. I'm sure the real one.
Yeah, that was definitely really Sargon there for sure.
Stardust, are you a Christian?
Potsticker sent $3 test.
She's fully
all-star panel, all anti-Christian panel.
That's what I was. It's Team Fedora, or the League of Extraordinary Atheists. Yeah.
Look, I'm not. I'm not like completely opposed to religion. I just don't believe in it myself. I think that it obviously it serves its purpose in society, but it's just not for me. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've changed it to control audio through OBS. Maybe that will also. I don't see how it's coming through at all. But anyway, are we on the verge of global financial collapse? And I'll start with you, Adam, and then I know Richard probably has some thoughts on that too.
I think so. Very likely is if they other countries have these new currencies and start trading with other currencies, that could easily, you could see how fragile our stock market is. They could pull out, the banks could pull the rug out from under us. We could have another 2008 collapse. We already saw the one bank in Silicon Valley go down. And what are we, like 30 trillion in debt from all these wars, the useless war on terror that did no benefit, just made the world more chaotic and caused more of a refugee crisis around the world. A war, we could get in another war. Like we're basically about to start World War III on 3 fronts with Russia, China, and Taiwan, Iran and Israel. They're talking about they're going to have nukes soon, next week. They've been saying that for 30 years. And you know what I focus so much on is I see this as a biblical script playing out, because I don't think it's a coincidence that all this is going down. And it's like they've said for the rabbis and the Christians that Russia is Gog and Magog, and they're playing some role, and they're going to have a war with Edom, and you know they're considered the new Rome. America in the West is the Rome, and Edom's going to be destroyed in this Armageddon end times war. And the fact that there's so many Abrahamic people out there that believe that this is God's plan to have this war, I just feel like we're marching towards that. And part of their prophecy, if they're able to accomplish their prophecy and rebuild the state of Israel, I think that they could, that there could be a war that destroys Edom, which is their ultimate goal. Have you seen that stuff? Have you seen like my compilation of that, Richard?
I've watched a ton of your stuff, Adam. Yes. I absolutely agree with you that there are people who want something like that and who think biblically in that way.
Like the Russian Orthodox Church, you know, the rabbis in
it's
Israel,
coming from both sides. Yeah,
Chabad Lubavitch in Ukraine and in Russia,
and you can see it even in the talk on Russian television, like the Russian version of Fox News, where they're regularly talking about, you know, nuking London and all this kind of stuff. And it's bombastic.
And they're fighting the Antichrist West, right? That's the narrative that they're pushing.
Yes. Kation, basically resisting the Antichrist. And even if it kills you, but, and at the same time, there's a kind of nihilistic notion of what do we need a world without Russia, which Putin said explicitly, I think like 10 years ago. Medvedev has echoed this. That being said, I don't doubt that these currents are in the air, but I actually don't think we're headed for an economic collapse. I think the SVB stuff, at least in the near term, I think the SVB stuff has much to do with the corruption of Silicon Valley and just total ridiculous, nonsensical investments in these absurd companies. Someone like Jeffrey Sachs who was, you know, flamboyantly calling for bailouts and all sorts of stuff on Twitter, is paradigmatic in this regard. I think that's a Silicon Valley problem. I mean, we might have a kind of downturn. We're due for it, but I don't agree with Jeffrey Sachs that this is endemic and it's, you know, bespeaks like a wider problem. I think it's a Silicon Valley issue.
I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced of that totally either, that bank going down means it's all going to go down. But what if we have another round of another plague, another COVID happening that they ramp up? We saw what happened to the economy when that happened. And a war, which coincidentally, that's also the prophecies at the end: earthquakes, famine, pestilence, plagues, war.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. I just think, you know, a more optimistic view, and I think a more realistic view of what's more likely to happen is that we kind of settle into this kind of stuff. That there's gonna be a slow winding down of Chimerica, which I think might take like 20 years to wind that down. But there's just a kind of division of the world, and we have our place in it. And I think that's actually going to bring about a little more stability. So I guess I'm kind of optimistic about the neo-Cold War. The last Cold War was fairly stable, at least for us domestically. There were a lot of small proxy wars, but there weren't big ones. And I have this optimistic view that I think a lot of the really toxic aspects of our culture as well are going to start to fade. I know this is like maybe naively optimistic.
Yeah, that sounds insane to me.
they've just hit their limit. I mean, where can we go from here? And we're going to need to face down a geopolitical rival. And yeah, I mean,
where do you think we could go from here?
Call me naive if you want, but that is my view.
I mean, where do you think we could go from here? I mean, there's a lot of places we could go from here. Are
you talking about culturally?
I mean, culturally, socially, strife.
Yeah.
Within society, death, sectarian violence. There's a lot of places we could go. And you know,
I see it getting worse too, Ralph.
I'm not saying we're going there for sure. You know, I'm hedging my bets a little bit more than Adam, but yeah, I mean, I lean a little bit more his direction, honestly. You know,
See,
I don't want to.
like
I want to be. I want to be hopeful.
I was like, you know,
I want to be like Richard, but like,
it's going to get worse. Hyperinflation. I kind of had that badass tendency towards that. I as I get older, I just look back at I do become, I guess, weirdly more optimistic. I think we're going to have a more stable situation.
I just don't see where it's coming from.
You think Trump's going to get back in?
I don't think Trump can beat Biden in a general election, but I definitely think he's going to destroy the competitors in the Republican field.
They're already sucking his dick, dude. It's already over. Once they came out and defended him on the indictment, it's over. That's them bowing down. That's them knowing they can't really take him on. A real guy would go out there and say, no, he's under federal indictment. This guy's a liability to the party. We can't have this.
I hate Ron DeSantis. I hate him.
He's a cuck. Every single one of these guys cucked up.
Like Trump. That is the level of hatred that I have for.
You can't come out there and defend a guy who just got federally indicted,
sympathetic
and
towards
think
Donald
you're going to
Trump.
beat him in an election. What in the
They have to get more of a Zionist politician to make Trump look less Zionist in comparison.
You can't defend a guy who just got federally indicted and think you're going to defeat him in an election and take on his side in the case. Like, I mean, that's pussy shit. Anyway, Stardust, go ahead. I know you have a lot to say, and you're down there in the corner and hadn't got to say much so far.
No, I don't really have honestly, the only thing I would say is, people have been like saying that we're near the end times for centuries, right? You can point to anything, say that like, oh, we have, plague, or we have this, we have wars going on. People have been pointing at the same things over and over again and saying it's the end of times, or this is like, what's happening, biblically happening. And it's never been the end of time. So
have they created the state of Israel a million times?
I mean,
or did they do that in fulfillment of their prophecy, and now they're like a rising power, and then still like all the chess pieces are aligning for their biblical script? You don't think there's anybody that's trying to like manifest and orchestrate their prophecies?
Not really. I don't think so. But like the state of Israel has. I mean, yeah, it's a relatively new development, but it's still, people have still been pointing to all of these other signs and saying that, like this is the biblical scripture coming true, right? I mean, 2,000 years ago, they thought like, end times were 20 years away, right? So I don't know that I would need to see more like compelling evidence, I guess, to say that people are orchestrating a scripture or something like that. But I guess my question would be to both of you, what makes Ron DeSantis more of a Zionist than Donald Trump?
Ha! Good question.
I think all in all, Trump actually is more of a Zionist, but Ron's giving him a run for his money for sure.
Holy shit. Well,
that's a good question.
I don't know that. I'm not sure I know the answer to that. Do you have any thoughts on that, Adam? You know what?
Yeah, I think Trump all in all has done far more.
You know what? Sorry to cut you off, because I do have a couple thoughts. I think he's more of a Zionist because he came up through the system, the Zionist system, and he was a congressman, and he's been backed by people like Bill Kristol for a long time, even before when he was running for governor in Florida the first time. He's kind of from that school, that Mike Pence, where he's really a neocon, where at heart Trump is like, fuck Iraq, fuck the Bush family. Remember when he was running and he was saying, yeah, fuck, that was a fucking boondoggle. The whole Bush family are a bunch of crooks. Iraq was a mistake. Like, that's the real Trump that he wants to be. Whereas we know the real DeSantis is let's invade Iran, or fucking, something like that. That's my view. I think he's more
Trump
of a system
actually
guy.
did get us out of the Iran deal, though. Just so that's in the grand scheme of things, that's like more on the Iran issue than Ron DeSantis did. And also, I mean, all that's true. I don't disagree, but Trump was getting top Zionist awards like in the early '80s, and with his Chabad Lubavitch connection with Jared Kushner and his daughter converting, and they both go over and bow to the wall. They both sucked up to Adelson and to Netanyahu. It's close, but Trump was already president and already did so much. Golan Heights, moving the embassy, Abraham Accords. That it's like no comparison. Trump, all in all, has been done more for the Zionist. But Ron DeSantis did the Chabad Lubavitch Noahide moment of silence in the schools. He was one of the first states to do
but
the
what has
BDS.
Biden done for the Zionists? Like, I mean, they're all the same. Like, there's two sides of the same coin. Like, there's nothing there. Like,
I agree.
That's why I was hopeful on this Ye thing, and I'm still am, because I want that to be talked about. The fact that there is no difference between the two parties on the Zionist issue. And there is no real talk about Jewish power in the media. Well, there was for like 3 months when Kanye was talking about it. But I think that that's an actual fair thing to talk about. I don't think it's racist to talk about that. I don't think it's bigoted. I don't think it's, inherently hateful. And I think making that acceptable is really fucking important. So that was my whole thing with Anyway, go ahead, Richard. I can tell you want to say something to that. Oh, wait, hold on. You're muted, though. You're muted. We can't hear you.
There we go. Sorry, I was having some technical issues. I'm just going to use my AirPod. You guys can still hear me.
Yeah,
just
sure.
fine. It's just not quite as good. I mean, there's this remarkable thing about Trump where the most fierce anti-Semites and the most dedicated Zionists each vote for the same candidate. Isn't that remarkable? That
a lot simply sent $3, looking great as always. Stardust. As the most intelligent, eloquent member on the panel, should I buy a car now or wait? We love you, beautiful lady.
I thought I stopped it. I'll figure it out again. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So there's no question that despite Trump's dedication to Israel, the moving the embassy, the Golan Heights, all this kind of stuff, and the fact that he has Jews in his own family through conversion, I mean, he is the most Jewish president on some level. There's also no doubt that he inspired or was associated with anti-Zionist supporters and even anti-Semitic supporters. So it's a weird contradiction with Trump. I don't think you can see that with DeSantis. I think DeSantis is a get along, go along type figure who is a part of the GOP establishment, but I think also is kind of catering to the online right in a very just obvious manner. He's kind of using libs of TikTok's Twitter feed as his policy directive. And so he's playing that game.
Sorry to interrupt, but she's a Chabad Lubavitch princess, basically, from a very prominent Chabad family in LA. And she was completely astroturfed and boosted up. Some anonymous account it doesn't get banned, gets retweeted by Posobiec and Daily Wire and Babylon Bee. All these people completely astroturfed.
Well, they're playing this weird game because I mean, this is something I've talked about in other spaces, but it's like. So Fuentes, let's use this as an example. So Fuentes gets kicked out of CPAC because he's just too extreme and right-wing and all that kind of stuff. And then on stage at CPAC, you have this Michael Knowles, a former Hollywood actor of some sort, involved in this basically Jewish operation, calling for the eradication of transgenderism. I mean, basically calling for transgender genocide. I mean, let's just, I don't know how look, okay, it's a pretty bold claim. It's not, he's not just protecting the kids or something like this. So there's this weird way in which these mainstream forces, all of their clicks and views are coming from almost Fuentes-like stuff. They've kind of like absorbed that extreme rhetoric, and they have taken it in their own ends. So they're engaged in this kind of weird dance that I was getting at before. They're going to need to indulge Steven Crowder, who plays with a little anti-Semitism here and there. They're going to need to kind of weirdly indulge these things in order to maintain their power. They're in a kind of weird dance-like situation.
You mean Crowder goes after secular humanists?
Of course, it's not the way that you would discuss Jewish issues. It's not the way that Mark Rahman would or something like that. But he's pressing those buttons, whereas 20 years ago, those buttons never would have been pressed, or 10 years ago.
So it is changing. I mean, like, it's changing before our eyes. I mean, and in a very fast way.
Definitely.
And they're doing everything they can to roll that back. I do this on the show sometimes. I just go through and look and Google anti-Semitism on YouTube, and there's literally a new story, and they're from local outlets every single day about so-and-so. They found this flyer, and they found this, and it's up 800%. First off, do you believe that? There is this new wave of anti-Semitism sweeping the nation. And second off, what do you think about the media pushback on this?
I'll let Adam talk about this because it's kind of his alleyway.
I'm an expert in anti-Semitism. I do videos all the time. I read books about anti-Semitism. I understand the Kabbalistic rabbinical views of anti-Semitism, and I follow the ADL very closely. Been attacked by the ADL several times. I just did a video about this last night. They're running with these new statistics that anti-Semitism is always rising every year, and it's the greatest threat, and they need hate speech laws, and they need more museums, and they need more mandatory education. They need anti-Semitism definition implemented worldwide, and it's literally the new ADL statistic. They cite 3,600 examples of anti-Semitism. So it's up like, 1,000 or something, a few hundred. And they even admit on their own site that 93% of the incidents that are going towards this statistic are coming from three groups of largely anonymous, insignificant, irrelevant, of like a few hundred people at best. We're talking 3,000 incidents, a few dozen very suspect, sketchy people that are provocateurs looking for attention, looking so they can benefit personally at best, but they're benefiting the whole anti-Semitism narrative. They want to frame America as the evil, as Edom, as Esau, the descendants of Esau. This is Jacob's evil twin, as America as white supremacists and Christian nationalism and anti-Semitic. And just like you heard that happen in Russia, and then there was a big Bolshevik revolution, and then it happened in Germany, and then Germany was largely destroyed. Now they're doing that to the final Edom, which is America. And I'm not kidding about this. They're serious. This is Stardust, this is for you. John Hagee's book now. See, he says the last empire. That's the symbol of the eagle, which represents America, and Rome, Russia, and Germany, the Edoms. And this guy is right next to every top politician on the right wing in the country. Trump,
Nikki Haley,
Pence, Chris, all these people are in tight with this guy and the Council for National Policy, and Tim LaHaye's Left Behind cults of rapture, Pompeo rapture fanatics. These people are dominating American politics.
What do you say?
Yes. Well, there's also a kind of symbiotic relationship or mutually beneficial relationship between
$5. Anti-Semitism is up because Nick and you made it the new punk rock.
All right,
now Nick is helping their agenda, playing the villain role as the poster boy for all the shocking clips that they all like to share to say, look how evil the Christians are, look how evil these nationalists are, look how racist they are. They're clipping him, and he's getting attention because he's helping their agenda. I'm sorry, but that's what it is. With the Christian anti-Semitism plays into their hand. Yi is not opposing Jewish power when his solution is we need to worship the King of the Jews and Yeshua. the Messiah, the Torah Messiah of the God of Israel. This is not legitimate, real opposition to Zionism.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with so much of what you just said. There's also a symbiotic relationship between, say, Likudists who want Jews to return to Israel or convert or rediscover their Jewish identity, and this notion of like, Lauren Boebert is going to launch a pogrom any day now. It's just clearly mutually beneficial. And there's always been this kind of strange alliance of enemies of a lot of Protestant, evangelical Protestants or so on, but also Protestant Zionists in the 19th century who supported a state in Israel, someone like Hagee. And so it's like a New York Times liberal Jew, living in Brooklyn or something, will see Hagee and be like, oh my God, this is the next Hitler. It's all these, the Goyim are all, meeting in massive groups and they're anti-Semites and all this kind of stuff. Someone like Bibi Netanyahu's smarter than that liberal Jew. He kind of realizes that there's some great benefits. So we need to align with these people, that our objectives are actually the same. And they love Israel. They want Jews to go to Israel. They think the Jews need to be in control of Israel for the end times to occur, or whatever. And so there's this weird alliance between the Christian Yahoos and the Netanyahus. It's a funny thing.
There's like a couple trolls, a couple provocateurs out there, Fed posting, trying to be edgy, and the ADL is using that and exaggerating it completely out of proportion to frame a narrative all over the mainstream media and in the politics with the politicians that there's like another Holocaust is about to happen in America if they don't shut it down immediately. And these groups are being used to pad their stats so they can go around on all mainstream media and show, oh, this uptick, it's in all this imagery that they use in their anti-Semitism agenda propaganda. And this is Kabbalistically, Judaism thrives with anti-Semitism. Their identity is to be hated. They believe Esau represents Christianity and Gentiles, and it's a law of nature that Esau hates them. They're chosen to be hated in their theology, and Christianity has provided that controlled opposition hate that hates them, and they're the villains, but they're also chosen, and they're also right about God, and their holy book is the word of God. This is why it's controlled opposition theology. And yeah, the chat is real triggered. And anybody that would see their behavior in the chats makes Christians look unhinged.
Now, yeah, go ahead, Stardust.
Yeah, I'm going to be like the one person here who just disagrees. But I do think that, so when I was younger, I didn't really understand anti-Semitism. I didn't really understand what it looked like. And as I got older, I started to really see it more and understand how rampant it really is. And I think now, I'm not saying that there's like another Holocaust coming. I'm not saying anything like that, right? But I do think that there is an increase in people saying anti-Semitic things. And I do think that, as a whole, it's not really great for our culture, right? It's not really great for like unifying people, especially, we live in America, we're a diverse country. We want people to be unified under, the American identity. I do think the anti-Semitism, I don't think it's overblown. I think it can be hard to see. And there are, a few bad actors who will overblow pretty minor things, but for the most part, I do believe that that what they're saying is true, that there is a rise in anti-Semitism. And
have you seen it in your personal life?
But you've got to make some distinctions about this, because look, there's the flamboyant, outrageous anti-Semitism that you'll see on 4chan or some parts of Twitter in the chat in this very broadcast. I get that. One thing that I've noted over the course of my life is liberals and left liberals going against Zionism. Whereas they don't even see or they don't care about ethnicity or religion. They're all a bunch of atheists anyway. but they are absolutely turning on Israel. The kind of commentary that you'll see on MSNBC today about Israel and its shenanigans, you would not, I mean, you'll have, because you're younger Stardust, you'll just have to take my word for it. None of that would have any sort of platform 20 years ago. And it wouldn't even, people would be ignorant of it. They wouldn't even think about it, say 30 or 40 years ago. And now it's actually very mainstream. Kind of the work that Adam's doing. I mean, this is, it's alternative, commentary or so on, but it's obviously very serious. He's not calling for pogroms or anything like that. It's analytical. And I think they would basically bunch all of these things into one. So, there would be like a liberal anti-Zionist, Adam Green, Mark Brahman, Richard Spencer, and like, Wild Wolf 1488 and 4chan who's calling for genocide. Or they'd lump all of these things into one basket and be like, look, anti-Semitism is on the rise. Whereas some of it is, I agree with you, just toxic nonsense. A lot of it is a shift among liberals. And a lot of it is just the fact that with the internet, we're able to engage in conversations that just simply weren't happening.
Well, I wanted to bring up, wait,
ago.
that's an inflection point, because I wanted to talk about that specifically when I set up this debate. Now, we're broadcasting live on kick.com as well, which recently popped up, 141 viewers there. I think we got about 600, a little bit over 600 here on cozy.tv. But just even a couple years ago, these sorts of conversations were kind of being stamped out again. 2018, in the spirit of 2018 and 2017 and all the IBS and all the great times, had kind of almost been completely stamped out, Richard. And now it feels like a renaissance almost to me. I don't know.
I think, look, the gay thing.
Stardust can get into if she wants. That's fine.
Okay. I'll let Stardust.
I don't disagree that that sometimes people will take the criticism of Israel and criticism of Israel's policies as anti-Semitism, and I don't think that's correct, right? I think that there are valid criticisms you can have of Israel and of their policies and the way that they do their international relations, without that necessarily being anti-Semitism. But I do think things have become a little bit more nuanced nowadays. Like, it's not to the extent where they're saying that every criticism of Israel is anti-Semitic. I think there people we've learned to distinguish between the two, and I do think that there is still an increase in anti-Semitism. And sure, some of it, most of it is probably not calling for the genocide of people, but it's anti-Semitism still, and it's still attributing this grand scheme to a group of people who are not even on good terms with each other, right? So, yeah.
All right.
I mean, that's just my opinion on it.
Now go ahead, Richard, and you can respond to what I was talking about, the conversations that I felt like it was kind of being stamped out there, and I was worried, you would have asked me after January 6th, what was happening around that time and how people were fleeing, and there just wasn't a lot of stuff going on. People were afraid to participate, and now it seems like another flourishing almost around the time when Trump came around the first time.
Well, look, I am not on Team Yay. I mean, it
doesn't have to be Team Yay or Team anything.
Hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
For probably very similar reasons as Adam. I mean, I'm not a Christian. I could have a conversation with Yay though. But there is no doubt that just the wild nature of his Alex Jones interview was something that people just felt was extremely destabilizing. Like, new paths were being opened up for discussion and thought that were not there previously, just because he is such a mainstream figure. I mean, he's a multi-billion-dollar artist and all this kind of stuff. And so whatever you want to say about Ye, and I can have my criticisms, I mean, there's no doubt that was pretty mind-blowing for a lot of normie people who saw
amongst the black community,
time.
Richard.
Yeah.
Go read the comments on these videos, and they're still up on YouTube. There was massive defense for Ye on the streets, and there still is. a lot of black people are with him on this and think he got blackballed. And I think if, he puts on a serious run, he could actually make some serious noise with this. I still believe that myself. I don't know what you think.
I believed that. I feel like he's lost his moment. And I don't. He's kind of
lost
disappeared.
a little momentum. Well, I think there's I think there might be a reason for that. I don't know specifically, but he might.
I don't know either. But we seem to have kind of moved on, and I think Trump has been able to monopolize the right-wing populist energy once again.
I think Ye there,
whereas he had lost it, and Ye jumped in and just took it, and then Ye kind of dropped it, and Trump's taken it back.
What do you think, Adam?
I think Ye being such a big celebrity influencer did have an impact on
Uncle Tom without getting laughed out of the room.
No, go ahead. Sorry, I can't.
Kind of like waking up a lot of normies in the world to like what's going on, and I think because of the internet, a lot of people are having awareness into these issues because the Zio issue is so forefront. We see our politicians putting on the small hats and going to the wall and constantly talking about our Judeo-Christian values and God's chosen people and my greatest ally and only democracy and vetoing bills at the UN for them and running cover, sending them billions and stuff. So people see this, the ADL and censorship, people see that. So there's going to be legitimate concerns with what's going on. And there's a lot of people that do have legitimate concerns, but we get discredited by the clowns out there on the fringes that are undermining. And then they point to them. They go, look, here's your archetypal, stereotypical, quote unquote, anti-Semite. And then, I don't, Stardust, there's not another Holocaust going to happen in America. We're a 9 in 10 in Congress identify as Christian. Like they're fighting over who's going to give more support to Israel a lot of the time. And it's just the ADL and all of these anti-Semitism groups are pushing that narrative. Nobody can dispute that. They're all trying to associate America with about to be Nazi Germany all over again. Jonathan Greenblatt has a book that he's been shilling the last year or so called "It Could Happen Here." Right now, what is that?
That's the TTS. I can't stop. I'm trying to switch scenes to delete the last messages of Power Chat to try to.
Was it a whisper voice?
That was a whisper voice. Yeah.
It's so funny how we have this talk about audience capture, where Jimmy Dore starts like catering to his right-wing audience, and he's been captured. And then with the Killstream, it's like literal audience capture. Like they literally taking control
stop
of the program. It's remarkable.
I can't stop it. All right, now that was quite an indecent.
You can't stop it, right?
I literally can't stop it. I've deleted every scene, like every extra scene that I had with Power Chat in it. Power Chat's not even in this scene. I actually don't know how it's playing. Is what I'm saying.
You should just turn it up and tell me and Richard to
I literally don't understand how it's playing. It's not even an entry on the source screen. I deleted all my other scenes. I went to the Tequila Sunrise scene. I don't see it there. I took it off that. So it's like somehow it's slipping through anyway. And there's like a ghost version of it somewhere, and it would probably take a restart of OBS or something to stamp that out. So Power Chat has just decided to not follow my orders today, so I do apologize. I do apologize for that. Stardust, I don't think I got to ask you earlier. What's your burning issue of the day? Wait, we can't hear you because I think you're muted.
Burning issue of the day. I'm really not sure, to be honest with you.
Well, what are we facing? What's the most important thing we're facing over the next year or two? Like, is it the war, like more war, or bank collapse, or streamers don't get paid? That could be pretty bad.
I'm not worried about bank collapse. I think, us continuing the war in Ukraine is super important. Continuing to support our allies abroad is super important. Ukraine, it was seen as like the first kind of line of defense when it came to Russia, right? Russia, basically, if they took Ukraine, people, in Europe basically assumed that they would obviously go to other countries and they would invade other countries. And so us being able to provide support to Ukraine is super important to me. I think, I don't know, other than that, I think I look at the overhyping of these cultural issues, culture war issues, and I don't really like that either.
Now,
I think that we're focusing on.
I want to ask you something. What would make you think? Why would Russia? You think that they would start a Nazi-like sweep across Europe?
I didn't say anything about a Nazi-like sweep, right?
But I mean that type of movement across Europe, because that seems ludicrous.
I didn't say Nazi-like sweep. But they would invade the next country over, right? Putin wrote an essay a couple of years ago about wanting to unite all of the previously Soviet countries again.
What's wrong with that?
It was just a couple of years ago, right?
So what's wrong with that?
I mean, these are countries that have their own culture and their own government. You can't just.
That's traditionally Russian sphere of influence. Why don't we let the Russians handle the Russian sphere of influence instead of getting involved in their wars?
Why not let the Ukrainians handle the Ukrainians? Right, they're getting handled. I don't believe in invading a sovereign country and forcing them to join you.
Well, go ahead, Richard. I can tell you if I was to talk about that, but
they want to be a part of the West. I mean, the Baltic states, Ukrainians have fought with a ferocity that I don't think many people expected. They don't want to be a part of the Russian sphere, and I don't think anyone can really blame them.
Ukraine is Russia, though, basically. I mean, in my mind.
Well, yeah. I mean, I can understand that. I mean, it is and it isn't, but it doesn't want to be a part of this brutal kleptocratic type of society that Russia really is. It has different dreams, and in some ways those are due to history and some difficult aspects of history with the Soviet Union and Ukraine. Those are due to the fact that there has been this tremendous Western investment and money laundering and all sorts of things in Ukraine. But I mean, so much of NATO expansion is organic. Washington is not putting a gun to anyone's head, literally or figuratively, and saying, "Oh, come join us so we can exploit you and get our boot on your neck," or something.
So what's going to happen with this then? Are we just going to fight to the last Ukrainian? I mean, seriously, what is the option on this? Putin's not going to stop because he's got too much of his own, capital invested in this. I don't think he's going to settle on anything less than very favorable peace terms for the Russians. I don't think anything else would be on the table. I don't know what the panel
I want to push back on one point from Richard, actually, before we move on to that. Ukraine was not going to be joining NATO anytime soon when Russia invaded, right? Part of, you have to meet a couple of requirements to join NATO, right? And Ukraine did not meet those requirements. They had a border dispute being one. Yeah, they had a border dispute, and also they have a level of corruption in their government.
They're not going to put Ukraine in NATO, dude. That's a pipe dream. That's all bullshit.
Ukraine will be in NATO.
No, they won't. That's not going to happen.
NATO now,
absolutely.
But prior to that.
Okay, well, let's start nuclear war over Ukraine. Is that not retarded to anybody else on the panel, or is that just like me?
I'm sorry, what?
I mean, if they're in NATO, that means they're under our nuclear shield, basically.
Right,
we would be required to
Russia,
a nuclear strike against Russia would be required, basically, if that happened.
Right, but prior to Russia invading, they didn't really have a chance of joining NATO, right? Not anytime soon.
They still don't. They're not going to get into NATO.
They will be in NATO within the next 10 years in one way or the other.
They will after they sign a humiliating peace agreement.
They will be in the European Union as well.
Well, after they give up about half their country to Russia, they will be maybe. But
I could see a situation. I mean, I predicted this, and I even recommended it actually very early on that we should seek a German solution for Ukraine. That is, just allow Russia to have hegemony over the eastern territories that they took, and basically establish a West
and the Crimea, all that. Yeah, all that. Half their country.
It would not include
they can
Crimea
have Kiev.
at that time. But I didn't predict. I didn't expect. And again, I was not alone. The ferocity and competence of Ukrainian forces fighting Russia.
I mean, Ukraine's put up a hell of a fight. I mean, I don't think I won't deny that.
The end game will be Ukraine as a member of the EU and as a member of NATO.
I can agree with that, like it now, right after the invasion.
Right.
But this idea that Russia was being threatened by NATO prior, right, is just not true. The expansion of NATO prior, it just isn't true, right? Prior to them invading, Ukraine was not going to be joining NATO. Ukraine didn't meet multiple requirements, right? First, the border dispute, and also the level of corruption in their government. So this idea that Russia's being threatened by NATO expansionism, I don't really buy it. Now,
who cares? We don't have to buy it, though.
After
I don't
all
buy
the
it
support
either.
that they're getting from the international community, and after the invasion now, yes, I can definitely see in the next 10, 15 years, maybe, if things go well, that they could join NATO.
Right.
But it's going to be with about half their country. It's not going to be with the current. It's not going to be the current Ukraine joining NATO. It would be probably part of a peace agreement, maybe, where they're allowed to join NATO if they give up Crimea and Donetsk and everything else over there on the whole eastern half. That would
I don't know. I think Ukraine's doing really well, actually. The amount of
that's not what I've been reading. But
right. Well, see, the amount of investment that we're putting in there, and we're getting the absolute demolished. We're seeing the Russian army.
Well, there's only so many Ukrainians.
Number 2 army in the world getting demolished essentially from our investments. That's a really good investment for us.
The thing is, there's only so many Ukrainians though, and there's been a lot of them getting killed, and they only have so many fighting aged men to go around.
Sure, but they're more motivated. It's you can look at historically wars. People who are fighting on their homeland are more motivated than people who are coming in.
Those sonic
offensively,
Russian
right?
missiles seemed pretty scary too. I mean, dude, you're gonna
you hear
Putin
stories about Russians deserting from their vehicles, stuff like that, right?
Dude,
it's.
Trust me, it's just kicking up. He's gonna start using more weapons like that,
those
Moab type
Ukraine
weapons.
Has all of the NATO countries,
in the middle of Kiev. You're gonna
it.
see something sick from Putin. Like, he's not losing this war.
We've moved from a war of position to a war of attrition, and I agree that just due to population size, that Russia has an advantage in this. I mean, I agree with your general premise. And I do think that at some point, Biden or whoever is in 2025, they need to just tell us what their vision is of the future of Central and Eastern Europe. They need to say, this is what we're doing. It's not just we're going to give guns and butter to this plucky country that got invaded by big bad Russia. That could definitely work in 2023. It becomes increasingly implausible afterwards. There's going to have to be a vision of how we see this playing out. But, you seem to just have this notion of Putin's, he's in the driver's seat. And he might, agree to this under good terms. I think both Stardust and I, and probably Adam as well, see this very differently. I mean, this has been a total catastrophe for Russia. I mean, they are humiliated. This should have been a 2-week long war. They have lost, 1 to 5% of their population over the course of a year through either military deaths, fleeing, and other things. I mean, this is not good for the Russian sphere.
Not a decisive victory for sure.
Yeah, no. and again, I would reiterate that we are demolishing the world's second biggest army, essentially, when it comes to equipment, at least, right? We're pretty much laying waste to their equipment, and we're seeing Russian soldiers.
What other option does
and,
Ukraine have other than eventual surrender to Russia if Putin just keeps pushing this and just keeps fucking killing Ukrainians? Like, I don't I don't.
There'll be nukes in the air before they let Putin take all of Russia.
Yeah.
Or all of Ukraine.
I think the Ukrainian people.
I don't know, but he's going to take the eastern. He's going to take the eastern.
We forget that Ukraine has been engaged with Crimea since 2014, right? So it's not like they're going into this completely without any experience, right? They've been essentially engaged in conflict there. So I think again, I would just reiterate that people who are fighting on their homeland are usually much more motivated than people who are coming in offensively. And you can see that, like,
well, yeah, that's
Vietnam,
true, and that's seeing
right?
that affect's happening. Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, that's happening in Ukraine right now. And that was
I would
underestimated.
say again, like,
right.
a lot of these soldiers are finding out that what they were being sent in there to do is not true. They're finding out that that things that they don't even know why they're there, right? And you'll see them like deserting from their vehicles. You'll see them surrendering, and then you'll see others who are just not that motivated getting killed. And people don't want to be away from their homes and their families for something that they don't know that they're fighting for, right? They don't know what they're fighting for. So.
Right. I mean, I think Russia can hope for a Trump victory, and I think there would be a lot of opposition to this among the so-called deep state, but Trump does seem to have an instinct to just sign off.
What about
all
Trump
of Ukraine,
just
or
like
most of it, to
soaring
Russia, and just kind of in the war that way and pat himself on the back?
What about him just soaring in the polls after he said he was about to get indicted, and now DeSantis and all of his rivals just look like just little measly, weaselly, just cocksuckers, honestly, to use a nasty term, but I mean, just obese. I can't believe. What a master. And they said he was more concerned about his perp walk. I was like, yeah, of course he was. Because he's going to be playing it in every ad saying, they want to stop me. They want to stop me from helping you. I'm the only one. It just plays into everything. This is like rejuvenated Trump in my mind.
You're entirely correct. Yes.
It turned him into a martyr.
Yes.
And he's framing himself as our savior, the only person that could stop World War III and obliterate the deep state and all these things. So I think Spencer's right. I think Trump's going to be back in, and he'll be like, I'm going to call Zelensky and Putin, and we're going to make a deal, and he's going to give them. It's either that or it's going to escalate into nuclear war, because I don't see Ukraine's. They're not going to
make a deal. Is what they're going to do.
Neither side will.
Oh, man. Dude, can he actually get back in, though, Richard? Can he actually get back into the White House? What do you think?
He certainly can. I mean, look, I don't think he will defeat Joe Biden assuming Joe Biden runs in 2024.
Joe Biden might not be alive in 2024. Joe Biden is looking a little worse for wear. Let's be honest here.
You guys, all of Trump's cult following thinks that the election was stolen from him.
I'm not rooting for that.
Twitter. He's got the momentum. Nobody has the following that he does.
I'm not rooting for that. I'm just saying he's looking a little wobbly.
Are overestimating Uncle Joe's incapacity. I mean, the guy has always been a little bit goofy. I mean,
he's pretty old. Should we have somebody that old running our nation who is clearly?
Well, that's a good question. But I mean, Joe Biden's so-called flaws are his strengths. I mean,
the answer is no. By the way,
he is a avuncular white guy, and that is why he won.
You shouldn't be able to
He's
sit
relatable.
If you're over 80,
he's a relatable guy.
If you're over 80,
he wanted to elect grandfather, so that Uncle Joe could reduce the drama and he could give us some Werther's original candy. So I mean, that's what we did, and that's what I did. And so I think this. You shouldn't underestimate him or overestimate him. I absolutely think he can beat Trump. He did it before.
Will there be debates?
He can do it again.
Look, the gerontocracy.
I agree. Is it possible that Trump gets in there and he signs off Ukraine to Russia and does all this stuff? Yeah,
that'd be hilarious. But I just want to say this: the
5%,
gerontocracy in the United States is unprecedented worldwide.
Well, there's nothing after them.
I mean, ridiculous.
It's like, who comes after
nobody
Biden?
ever talks about it. It's like. I know Trump's pretty old too, but I think if you're past 80, 85, you shouldn't be able to sit in the United States Senate. Or you should have to take some type of mental capacity test. Or you should have to take some type of mental capacity test to prove that you're still able to sit.
I actually think people underestimate Biden a lot with his mental capacity. I think he's actually a lot sharper than people give him credit for. I don't know if you guys saw he maybe not this debate cycle.
Well, I mean, that's might be true. But
when he was running for vice president and he did debates, I think he performed pretty well. So I think he's a relatable guy. He's fine with people.
You mean he lied about Hunter and everything else?
Look, the worst person to have as your enemy is somebody that you underestimate, right? He's fine with people underestimating him. I would be fine with people underestimating me too. If everybody thinks like I'm more of an idiot than I actually am, right? But as far as like Trump, yeah, I agree with everybody here that everybody loves a martyr, right? But at the same time, like we didn't see him get arrested. So does he look more like a drama queen now, or does he still look like a martyr?
Oh, he's been a victim of the deep state since before he got in, according to these QAnon people and Trump supporters.
I think many people literally believe that he's been arrested due to AI deepfakes on social media. I mean that very seriously.
No, somebody sent me video. Was like, he got arrested. Yeah, and I was like, no, he didn't.
Yeah,
that's not true. But yeah, they try to send me. Like,
I will say that there's not other Democrats that seem like they would do so much better than Biden could, which is really sad.
Well, we've reached this like terminal stage of America where, there like Kamala Harris could not beat Trump. Kamala Harris is really just off-putting. Let's just put it that way. Buttigieg is the same. I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe Gavin Newsom, super handsome, but kind of a little bit too creepy. Some Patrick Bateman vibes going on.
Plastic,
I mean,
yeah.
I like him, but
I think he's gotten better. Honestly, a little more, less of that. Like he's improved as a politician.
I wish my hair was that cool.
I still don't think.
But granted, there seems to be this almost like terminal aspect to this, and then with the Republicans, I mean, DeSantis, it's just not going to work. Nikki Haley's a joke. I mean, we've reached this like terminal point where I don't think we can imagine a world after these.
What about what Tucker Carlson said about Trump, by the way, in the text? What if a Tucker Carlson or somebody like that jumped in? What did you think about what he said about Trump? Did you see those?
Well, I agree with him. I mean, yeah, I again, I am less anti-Trump now in this weird way because I just despise Ron DeSantis with every fiber of my being. And I also just kind of like the clown show of Trump. I mean, I'm weirdly like anti-Trump.
Are you about to get back on the Trump train? Is that what you're telling me right now?
I'm on the anti-Trump caboose. That's where I am. I'm not quite on the train. I'm not going to vote for him. I will absolutely.
You're gonna be on the train.
Biden. But
no, you're gonna be on the train before it's over with.
And I just kind of feel for the guy in some kind of funny way. I don't know.
He has to win. That's the next chapter. He has to win. Yeah. It's like when he won the first time. It's like the story is he comes back and wins. Like that's what's supposed to happen. That's what happens next in the story.
Yeah.
I did miss the nicknames, and Meatball Ron is a pretty good one. So.
Oh, that was hilarious. Meatball Ron. He's basically calling him a wop. Like it's fucking hilarious. Like Meatball Ron. Holy shit. It's funny as fuck, and nobody else would even dare. Like we need this guy. We need this guy.
When he called what's her name, Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, that I lived for that moment. Right? I don't like Trump. I've never really liked Trump, but that was like a really good moment when he called her Pocahontas. Dude. So.
I never had any complaints. I was just like, oh my god. There's nobody else like him. And Ron DeSantis, I think, would get slapped around pretty hard by Trump on a debate stage. I don't, that whole shot that he took about the porn star thing the other day, I think that was a mistake for Ron DeSantis.
He's just a weird
He comes across as a Romney.
The waters,
he comes across
if he
as
could take jabs at Trump.
He comes across as a Romney type to me. You know what I mean? Like a greasy salesman.
Romney
type.
is infinitely better than DeSantis. I know DeSantis has a really interesting.
Go ahead.
Romney is like a kind of fatherly,
maybe not
reasonable figure. I mean, yeah,
maybe.
sure.
You might be
can
right. You might
criticize
be
him all
right.
day. But he's a reasonable person you can talk to. Ron DeSantis has very strong sociopathic vibes, in my estimation. And the other aspect of it, there was actually a really great tweet that I retweeted by one of these just like Trump like religious devotees of, if you like Ron DeSantis, you've engaged in spiritual communism. And I agree with him. DeSantis, he has an impressive resume. It's like Harvard law degree, went to Yale, all this kind of stuff. But he's kind of like a super mediocrity. And what I mean, it's like because I judge someone's intelligence of whether I would like to have a conversation with them that lasts longer than 2 minutes. Like, can you tell me something I don't know? Can you give me some insight? And Ron's not like that. He's just creepy as hell. He's a whiny bitch when he's on stage. And so he's like this.
Didn't he go to Harvard and Yale?
Like bookkeeper who went to Harvard. It's like the word. It's like, imagine you have like Chinese food from the airport and you pumped it with MSG so it tastes really flavorful, but it's still just Chinese food from the airport. Like, he's a super mediocrity, but he's still a mediocrity. And the fact that he went on with what's his name from England, and he was like, sanctimonious, I don't know what that word is, could I spell it? Or he obviously should know what that word means and how to spell it. But he's just playing to this crowd. He's not offering anything really. You do, when he talks, it's just this kind of wishy-washy, playing both sides, appealing to them, appealing to that. You don't know what he thinks. With Trump, there was this bombastic emotional energy that was behind his garbled syntax, that he would just create a news story, express some truth, express his own malignant narcissism, whatever it was. He would do something that was just fascinating. You had to watch. It was entertaining at the very least. DeSantis has none of that. He's just awful. I don't give a shit about his resume. He's a total mediocrity. There is just no other way to describe him. And if you like that, if that appeals to you, that tells me everything I need to know about you. You are a spiritual communist. You are a mediocre human being. There is no light in your eyes. You are hollow. If he appeals to you, that tells me everything I need to know. So
what do you mean by
I hate this
communist?
Bastard with a passion.
What do you mean by spiritual communist? What does that mean?
You ultimately don't admire greatness when you see it. Trump, look, he's a bit of an idiot. He's completely toxic. I get it. But there is just something so like aggressively great and insane and clownish about him that you almost have to admire him. If you admire an accountant, then life's not worth living. I don't even know what to tell you. Like, I admire things that are great or at the very least bombastic and silly. Like, life, that's what makes life meaningful. If you admire just like sociopathic bookkeepers like Ron DeSantis, you deserve to die, in my opinion.
Oh my God, that's so extreme.
Richard,
I am this extreme. I hate middle people. I hate mediocrity. If you're a peasant and you're stupid, you have some redeeming qualities. If you're a crazy artist, you obviously have redeeming qualities. If you're a great man of history, you have redeeming qualities. If you're a middle of the road bookkeeper, get fucked, in my opinion.
But to the average Republican, they see, and my issues aren't that he's mediocre. It's that he's a Zionist like everybody else and goes on Adelson's plane and does the BDS and all these things. Goes and signs bills in Jerusalem. He's made 3 trips as a governor. They've all been in a senator there or whatever else he was. They've all been to Israel. Congressman. Yeah. But all of the Republicans basically see him as like the only person out there that's a Republican that's opposing the COVID stuff, that is going against like the Disney groomer situation. And he doesn't have all the baggage of Trump. That's why they find him appealing. But
they ultimately find him appealing because he's like them. He's a super mediocrity. And all of these people in the GOP are just boring, lifeless, mediocre subhumans, and so they see one of their own and they like him. All the rest of that stuff's just justification.
I think DeSantis does see the power of Trump too, because he's tried to mimic the way he talks and uses his hands like they're literally like identical.
It's really creepy.
He is a sociopath. He is a hermit crab that takes on other people's shells. There's nothing there. I mean, he is a reptile who will imitate other creatures.
He's like Mayor Quimby without the Kennedy accent.
Well, I've seen a decent amount of like moderate Republicans go to bat for Ron DeSantis. Like people who are generally pretty anti-Trump seem to be pro DeSantis. But I think that might be partly because he's just the alternative, it might be that. Yeah. But I mean, I think that there are people like middle of the road people who are interesting in the Republican Party. Like I think Liz Cheney is interesting, right? Somebody who's like unafraid to like go against the rest of her party. But I also just kind of admire people who do that, right? Who kind of go against their own, go against the grain. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I understand what you're saying about middle of the road people, but I think we'd all be middle of the road people if we didn't have middle of the road people, right? Like,
but you admire something great. You want something more from life. And so admiring Ron DeSantis is the most like nihilistic thing humanly possible. I will die on this hill of Ron DeSantis being radically evil. Anyone who likes that type of person is a nihilist at heart, because you are basically promoting utter boring sociopathic mediocrity as an ideal, and that is just a no-go from my standpoint.
But Biden should be admired.
Yeah, because he's your uncle, man.
Biden isn't.
He's laughing. Come on.
Would you rather have a meal with Biden or Ron DeSantis? Maybe Biden.
What are you even talking about? We go to the old Grill and eat
Biden. Yeah, I would have to say.
Biden.
Not even close. I don't want to be in the same room with Ron DeSantis. He'd probably like poison me or something, or steal something from me. I know sociopaths when I see them. There is no light in that man's eyes.
I'd still rather have dinner with Biden. Yeah, probably. Yeah, just because he'd say some crazy shit. He'd probably drop the N-bomb or something. Yeah, like he's
Biden will be like, "You seen the commercials lately? Can you believe it?"
Yeah, he'll start talking about the blacks
and after a few drinks, he'd be like totally senile and even more hilarious than he was earlier. So yeah, it's great.
He'll probably be drunk.
Well, so I was going to bring up, there was this vice presidential debate that Biden took part in when Obama was running. And I believe during the debate, the opposite party, he made a statement, and then for the rest of the debate, all Biden did was laugh at him. And people were like, "Oh, this is so disrespectful. I can't believe he did this." But to everybody else, it was, everybody else, like, he looked kind of like a badass, honestly. It's just kind of like, it just completely invalidated everything that this guy had to say by just laughing for the rest of the debate. So, yeah, I don't know.
Badass in his
psychological. It's like he just there he goes again. Just starts laughing at him, and then move into your own talking points.
I don't think Biden bows down to Netanyahu as much as Trump would.
No.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
I don't think Blinken would as well. And Blinken's Jewish.
They're still capitulating a lot and are weak as hell. But
well, I mean, Israel is important, right? It's like our only ally in that area of the world, right?
Yeah, it's very important.
If you want to call them that.
Yeah, you don't think that
you know what? The one base thing about Obama, who I voted for twice, by the way, was that Obama was anti-Zionist. Obama was anti-Zionist and still is. And he waited until like his last fucking week in office to actually fucking do anything worth a shit about it. Still, and I still give props to Obama about that to this day, because he's the only president in the last 50 fucking years to do anything of the sort. And you won't be seeing any one of these two, Biden or Trump, doing anything of the sort, unfortunately. So anyway, props to Obama.
Obama wrote in his memoir about how Netanyahu had so much power and influence over the politics in America.
He's right. Yeah, Obama called. Yeah, Obama called a spade with on Netanyahu for sure, and he's the only one to do something like I think they abstained from a vote or something, or I don't even think they vetoed it. I think they just abstained and let it go through, and it was some war crime condemnation or something of Israel, which they have about 500. But anyway. What do you see happening? What's going to be the next move? Are they going to actually arrest Trump? Spencer, what do you think?
I think they will indict Trump.
They have to now. It seems like they're scared to.
I think they're understandably scared to. And
won't
and
he
I
have
think
access to the Secret Service
you
in
could
jail?
be legally justified in just punting on this, and politically justified in punting.
How
on
can
it.
you even jail him?
It's gone far, and I think it was a really bad move because I mean, and again, I'm sure I'm going to trigger your audience and maybe you, Ethan, when I say this, but like with the whole J6 stuff. They've gone after the lowly foot soldiers, and they've yet to indict Trump on pretty patently obvious criminal activity in, say, Georgia. They haven't gone after the middle people of J6 who were sponsoring Stop the Steal and Plan J6 and so on. They've gone after all the foot soldiers.
That find me the votes language, that's not going to hold up as actual crime. Find me the 11,000 votes. That can be taken anyway.
That would be a kind of legitimate way of solving the problem, or impeaching him at the end of his term. Instead, they're going after hush money to a extramarital affair with a porn star. It looks like it's very unsophisticated. It looks like
it's not even obvious that it's a crime because Michael Cohen paid for it with his own money. Out of his own account.
I totally.
Do you understand
I totally agree.
And then Stormy Daniels has lost on this case before.
I'm pretty cynical about these things. It's like you're a politician. Yeah, sure. Pay off the porn star you had sex with. I mean, I just don't give a shit, basically. And I think most people ultimately don't give a shit. But why are they pressing
this case?
We knew this about Trump before we went into it. This
seems like the one he could win. Like, I'm like, what are you like? What is this? It's not even clear to me that he broke any law on this.
It demonstrates that the liberals are unsophisticated on this, because this is the worst possible first serve.
That's what I'm saying.
To the other side, they need to do stuff that's much more serious if they're going to solve the problem. They're not just going to get Al Capone on tax evasion. Like, you're not going to get Trump on porn star payouts. You've got to do something serious against him, and they're just unwilling to do that. And so I do think he has a chance to win the GOP nomination and the presidency. Yeah. Holy shit.
Well,
and Netanyahu got back into power, and they got like an extreme Zionist religious government over there, and Trump and the Christian nationalism will rise in America. And we got the powder keg of Ukraine and Russia, which, by the way, I don't know if people may not know that one of the top Kabbalists in the 17th century, Gaon of Vilna, he predicted that Crimea and Ukraine and Russia would be some type of like set off for the Gog and Magog war. And all of these John Hagees and CNP, all these influential Christian Zionists in American politics, they all have been saying this for many decades. Since Schofield Bible actually identified Russia as this end times war figure.
Interesting.
Now,
go ahead, Ralph.
No, I was just going to say, we do have a way to turn the TTS back on now after I figured out how to stop it. Which was not, I actually had to delete every scene except for like 3. I still don't know where it was coming from. I don't know how that was happening, but I think I can put it back up now. If you'll give me 1 second, let me do the old browser source. I think it's the browser source, right? Yeah. All right, now let me play some of these. If they'll, we can't hear them though, because
artificial intelligence sent $3. You can't shut us down. Only the Jews have shut it down. Energy and Talmudic powers.
All right, yeah, we shut you down though.
Rowhouse sent $5. Does Stardust define herself as for equality over equity? Bernie Sanders now said no more equity. Do Democrats need to walk back this term? The panel's thoughts?
What about that?
So I wasn't ever like a Bernie bro,
boy,
I guess, but
this Adam Greenberg sure loves the Jews.
No, wait. Some of these are coming in.
Max McDonald,
King of the Hill? Is that Hank Hill?
Stardust, do
Some
people
of these,
of color ever have a chance of voting majority Republican?
Some of these are coming out of order.
Was hyped, but nothing changed.
No, wait.
Do Indians permanently see the GOP as a white party even if Nikki Haley or that Vivek guy are the nominees?
These are coming.
Friendly flower.
Right, no, okay. Clearly, Power Chat is having some kind of issue. But what about the original question, Stardust? And I might read some of these because they're coming in out of order now, and so it's something going on with Power Chat, not me. So now I'm starting to understand because it just played that one automatically with no stop. All right. Do you remember the original comment?
I think so. I'm like a quality of opportunity person. So I don't know if that answers it. I was like a Bernie bro for maybe like 1 minute and then, was pretty pro Hillary after that. So yeah, I'm not really, I don't remember what they were saying about Bernie Sanders, if I'm honest with you. So.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I think that, isn't it kind of interesting that I think within 24 hours, Jank or however you pronounce his name, Uyghur, and then Anna Kasparian tweeted out these kind of like enlightened centrist Republican memes. Like Anna Kasparian said, I'm not a birthing person, I'm a woman, kind of thing. And it's like, okay, great, congratulations. And then Jank tweeted out like, we've never even talked about equity. Like it's always been about equality. I don't know what you're talking about. And it's just, there's a kind of gaslighting quality to these things because obviously they've been on the forefront of promoting these ideas and now they're kind of turning away from them. But why are they turning away from them? Is this are they getting a memo from like DNC basically telling them we're going to soft pedal all this stuff actually and maybe even hard pedal against it?
I don't know that
not helping us. Go ahead.
I don't know that they got a memo from the DNC. I think most moderate Dems also kind of look at TYT and kind of view them as more extreme. But I don't know the reason for the sudden switch. I think it's super strange too, that Anna Kasparian is all of a sudden saying like this talking point that a lot of moderates have been saying for a while.
It's a turf talking point as well.
Yeah, honestly. And, these are the same people who are saying like, oh, Republicans want to kill you. You guys better arm yourselves. And doing all this alarmism about how conservatives are like coming to kill everybody, trans people and people of color. And so I don't know what it is, to be honest with you. It's interesting. So
I think they got a memo. I think this is, I think they're playing a little game here.
I think the Dems are too divided to send a memo on anything. I think they'd argue about what needs to go in that memo. So
I'll just read these out like the old days. I used to do this every show. This used to be how I would do this. Richard remembers I would go through and read them out just like this. Friendly Flower says, damn, Stardust looking like a snack. Don't burn yourselves, boys. Lady Stardust is hot, hot, hot. K-Max McDonald's
like a snack. That's a funny.
K-Max McDonald says, for Stardust, do people of color ever have a chance of voting majority Republican? 2022 was hyped, but nothing changed. Do Indians permanently see the GOP as a white party, even if Nikki Haley or that Vivek guy are the nominees? I thought you said you were Pakistani.
No, I'm of Indian origin. But I would say that like I wouldn't look at sorry, what were you saying?
Oh, I was like, why did I think that? Anywai, go ahead. Yeah.
She's
an Indian. She's a Muslim and Indian origin, as I learned in my in-depth interview of Stardust the other day, which is very interesting. Yeah.
Thanks. Well, I would say that I wouldn't look at the Republican Party as like a white party. I think that you'll find a lot of immigrants have traditional values, have conservative values, or are leaning conservative at least. And I think that there's an opportunity there for conservatives to capture some of that audience. So like right now, we kind of see a split. I do see a lot of Indian people who will vote Republican. I see a lot of Indian people who vote Dem. But you'll see, like, you know, as more immigrants come in, the Republicans are actually picking up some of that audience. I think they gained in Hispanic voters. So yeah, I wouldn't consider the Republican Party a white party anymore. And I think it'll probably overwhelmingly become more diverse. So, yeah.
I don't know. I don't see that as happening in my view. What do you think about that, Richard? What do you think about what you said there?
Yeah, I mean, I think the GOP is going to be the idiot party, basically.
Wow.
Multiracial idiot coalition. I mean, I'm sorry to be this much of a jerk, but yeah. The many whites, professional whites and so on are moving to the Democrats. I talked a little bit about this last night. You guys can go listen if you're on my Substack, but I mean,
sure. Where can we find your Substack?
Radixjournal.substack or the reverse or something like that, or just go to my Twitter page and you can find that. But long story short, the Democrats used to have and I still have now, a kind of high-low coalition where, you know, the guy living in Arkansas who's working at a textile factory, he would vote Democrat. And also the egghead literature professor at the University of Arkansas would also vote Democrat. So you had a kind of high-low coalition, and that might seem contradictory, but it's actually effective. And that is the original kind of FDR push. The GOP has a low coalition. So it is the multiracial working class party. And it's just totally due to the prominence of people like Lauren Boebert and MTG and to Trump. It's just totally alienated intelligent people. I mean, I'm sorry. I mean, I'm sorry if I sound like Rachel. I don't even sound like Rachel Maddow. I sound like something worse. But it is alienated intelligent people, and it's increasingly alienating the mostly white-ish professional class of people who used to be khakis and blazers wearing Republicans in yesteryear. It's alienating them. And so it is kind of powerful to be this working class party, but there's some really serious limitations to that.
By the way, we have 109 viewers on kick.com/The Ralph Retort. Don't forget to subscribe over there. I like what's going on over there. Also, Cozy, of course, the mothership. I think we got, about 700 over here. So about 800 total live watching the Supreme Panel. We brought it back. Adam, what were you going to say? You got any follow-up on that?
I literally just noted down exactly what Spencer was saying about these Christian types in the right wing, that they're so wacky, they're so Jesus obsessed that they're alienating a lot of people that are like more towards the center, and they're not providing good opposition to the extreme leftists. And I've always said this: the extreme leftists radicalize the Christian right, and the Christian right radicalizes the extreme left.
Yeah. And the Democrats are going to become more centrist. As difficult as that is to believe, if you're, going on social media and watching libs of TikTok and all this kind of stuff, I think the general trajectory of the Democrats, as all these leftists complain about, they're correct to complain about, it's towards corporate Democrats and centrism.
What do you think about the vibe of this is a total topic change, but we really didn't talk about alt tech at all, and I kind of want to work that in a little bit. Maybe this isn't alt tech, but this is Twitter, and then maybe we could work in a little alt tech towards the end, and get any other TTS that I could stop from ghost reading. What do you think about what Elon's done? Of course, I got banned from Twitter and restored, which was pretty cool. So I'm in love with Elon. Of course, now I love everything he's done with Twitter, and love the administration and have no complaints. But what are your thoughts, Richard?
I'll pass it to the other panel. I'll jump in on this, but I have a lot to say on Elon, but I'll let them speak.
Okay, that's fine. Then Stardust. I'll start with her. Ladies first.
Okay. Can I pass it on to Adam, actually?
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm just so annoyed that Twitter is like the only big tech platform that hasn't banned me. And of course, that's the one that gets bought by the billionaire and lets everybody get back on. And I think that's going to give a huge advantage to Trump. Now, we're having the Twitter files, which I'm suspicious of why he let Barry Weiss be one, and some of the other people he chose to release these so-called damning files. They are damning, but I think there was more damning stuff that they didn't cover. And so I think that's giving a huge boost to Trump. Obviously, Elon is like doing little hat tips and dog whistles, even to like the alt-right with the Peppy Frogs and, stuff like that. So I've seen a lot of growth. I was on Twitter. I was plateaued at like 20,000 for like 2 years until he even just said he was going to buy it. They definitely moved off the throttle, and I've grown up to, I think I'm at 35 right now. So hopefully at this rate, I'll be able to keep growing. We'll see. And it seems he didn't totally cave to the ADL either. So that was a positive sign.
I think there have been some positive things that Adam said. I also have seen kind of slow growth, whereas I had totally plateaued in a way that I just, I don't want to be a victim here. I really feel like they were throttling or shadow banning or something to maintain, because my growth, I just hit a flat plateau in like August of 2017, which is a important month, and just stayed there for years. And that struck me as a little bit inorganic. Anyway, maybe it was, but I've actually slowly grown recently, which is great. And I think there are some good things, but I feel like I'm just giving a backhanded compliment here. I don't know what Elon is up to exactly. I think there is a motive of promoting DeSantis and among the alt-right and all these kinds of people who are his fanboys at this point. I do think there was a political motivation in his purchase of the company. In terms of Elon himself, I had never paid attention to Elon previously, but after looking into his business ventures, I have concluded that he is a massive charlatan, to be frank. And I find his commentary on current events inane, to put it mildly. He's replying to people, I'll look into that, or emoji face or whatever. He just strikes me as completely lacking in insight whatsoever, and a kind of teenage troll on 4chan or something. I just have lost a tremendous amount of respect for him. I think Elon is ultimately going to go down the Elizabeth Holmes route, because I do think that there's a tremendous amount of fraud in all of his companies. Yes. And Neuralink, especially, I mean, obviously SpaceX is doing launches, but I think there's some dubious qualities to that. I think there's some dubious qualities to Tesla, at least in terms of its valuation and its ability, the likelihood that it's going to dramatically lose market share once people get this stuff online. But so much of Elon has been this like catering to an audience. And he originally catered to a more kind of elite leftist audience of, we're going to save the earth and we're going to try, or catering to a nerd audience. We're going to travel to Mars, all that kind of stuff. He's now just catering to a right-wing audience. He wants to create a base. And I think this is going to be a less fulfilling audience for him. And I mean, the solar stuff, I could just go on and on, but there is a tremendous amount of bullshit surrounding Elon in all of his ventures. And what exactly he's going to do with Twitter or what vision he has for all of this remains to be seen. And I just see a man flying by the seat of his pants and, achieving some kind of weird temporary political objective, like recreate the alt-right, but on behalf of DeSantis. I sensed that very strongly in terms of the people he led on and in terms of the people he amplified.
He's publicly backed DeSantis, by the way. But go ahead.
Oh, he
go
did.
ahead.
I was just going to ask that
because he has. Go ahead.
I'm concerned with seeing him photographed at like the World Cup and other places with Rupert Murdoch of Fox News or Jared Kushner or who else? Oh, he was on the boat shirtless with Ari Emanuel, the top Hollywood agent, who Trump also met with, by the way, Rahm Emanuel's brother. But I do agree with Richard that it does seem like he's almost seems like he's just a front man, kind of playing like a Bill Gates role, almost taking credit as the genius when really it's just kind of been other factors that have gotten him there. So.
Yeah, I tend to agree with what Richard is saying. I do think he's a charlatan. I've always found him very performative.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and I think his initial takeover of Twitter was actually very funny for me to watch. I wasn't sure what was going to happen. I figured he'd change a couple of things and then just continue Twitter status quo. But the beginning of his ownership of Twitter was such a shit show. It was so good to watch. It was it was like watching a circus, honestly. And then it was seeing people like fact check him, his own employees fact check him, him getting owned by Community Notes. It's been a really wild ride, and I'm not really sure what the future is with him. But I've talked about it before with big tech and tech platforms. I either see like the internet as a whole is probably going to become much more moderate, probably less left leaning, or I think that we're going to see a huge fracturing in the internet and the different sides of the internet. So.
When Elon first bought Twitter, the ADL was kvetching hard and threatening him and stuff. And they did a whole tweet thread where they were threatening an advertiser boycott on Twitter if he didn't like let them in on the Trust and Safety Council or something. Yeah. And they literally cited me as one of their first examples right after Kanye. And they said, anti-Semitic podcaster with 28,000 followers
They want you gone bad. Yeah, dude. They want you gone bad. When I got banned before you did, I was like, what the fuck? They got me before Adam Green? Are you fucking serious? Like, they've had campaigns to get you removed for years off Twitter.
I won't take back what I said about Elon at all, but I guess I will give him this level of credit because I really behave on Twitter. And so I definitely play by the rules, and I've calmed down and all that kind of stuff. But he hasn't banned me, and he hasn't banned Adam, and that's something.
Well, they didn't ban us before he even took it over either.
That's true.
What the ADL
kind of weirdly liked me.
The ADL flagged one of my tweets that was quoting top atheist Jews about how Judaism was evil. It was Sam Harris and Christopher Hitchens who I quoted a video of him where he said Judaism is evil and wicked and savage or something like that. And they tried to ban me for that. You're not allowed to say that their religion, where they're chosen and we're all inferior souls, is evil.
Well,
apparently.
It's a direct quote from the guy saying it. I mean,
it was. Yeah, it wasn't even me.
All right, now let me go through some of the questions here. I might just ask some of these. Let me see if I can. I could try. I guess I could try again. I really don't know why it's doing that. It's something. Power Chat must be testing out something because they're coming in out of order, and I have no control over the actual stopping or playing of them. All right, but we'll try it again. Let's see if I can bring up the controls too. And then we'll see if we can get that played. I know Richard loves TTS. Why are you such a hater of TTS? It involves the audience. They love it.
I hate the audience.
Yeah, well, I understand that too. Okay, now let's see here. Events. Let's see. I think this already played, did it not? Is that the Sargon?
Sargon of Akkad sent $3. Richard Spencer has the hots for Stardust. Probably because he never read Locke. I single-handedly destroyed your precious outright, you cunt. Admit I am smart, punk.
The real Sargon.
Any male person who's on anything with me gets accused of that.
Now that one was kind of funny because it was like actually interrupting during the time it said, all right, now let me try to stop it and let me see if it lets me stop it this time. That would be a key point. Now go ahead and say what you're going to say, Stardust. Maybe it'll let me stop.
I was just saying any male who
Max
appears
McDonald
on anything
sent
with me gets accused of
$3 for
that.
Adam. Jewish people just smarter and work harder. How do they take over all of these positions in media, government, and finance if Indians and East Asians have higher IQ?
Let me stop.
Do they not network as well?
But go ahead and give your answer. Pretend like you didn't hear that, and then I'll ask it again. Go ahead. Go ahead. Give your original take, Stardust.
Oh, I didn't have an answer. I was just making a comment on, nothing important. So, yeah.
Okay. For Adam, are Jewish people just smarter and work harder? You heard it. How do they take over all these positions in media, government, and finance? If Indians and East Asians have higher IQ, do they not network as well? Is that what the problem is?
I guess not. It's got to be something. It's not because they're chosen by God to lead the nations. I'll tell you that. But maybe there could be something in the placebo effect of believing that. And when you're talking, everybody hates you and they all want to kill you. It makes you work harder politically as well.
Yeah, it could be. I never heard it put like that. But if you were born thinking you were the chosen people, yeah, that would be kind of a little boost in the morning, I guess, if you think about it. Sorry, go ahead, Stardust.
Yeah, I was just gonna say there are a decent amount of Indian CEOs. Like you can look at a lot of companies, and there are a lot of Indian CEOs. So I'm just saying, I'm waiting for people to start saying these things about my people. Okay, maybe I want to feel a little special.
The Indian question.
Yeah, the Indian question. So
the Juicebo effect. I'm seeing it called in chat. I've not.
Do you notice the caste element that reproduces itself among immigrants as well?
I don't. I'm going to be honest, and I don't really know a whole lot about the caste element to really notice it. So.
Okay.
By the way, BG White, shout out for that 50. He said, "Thanks for the content, Ralph. Thank you, panelists, for interesting conversation and entertainment." Now it's March already in 2023, but where are we headed? I guess as the year unfolds. I'll start with Adam because Richard doesn't want me to start with him.
I think we're probably just going to see more of the same, more small escalations in Ukraine and Russia, more wokeness, more push for hate speech laws and anti-Semitism laws, more Christians saying it's the end times, more left-wing people obsessing over their pet issues. So I see we're going down a path, and I don't see us changing trajectory at all. So I'm a little black pilled that it only gets worse than here. And sadly, I don't have the idea that, it's got to get worse because that's God's plan. And then Jesus is going to come back and save us. So I think there's no Messiah superhero that's going to come and save the day. So we're going to have to save ourselves.
Do you think a lot of young people are proud of America?
No, they're taught to hate America.
Because when I was a kid, America was the shit, and the new Olympic gear, like we'd be rocking, you know what I mean? Like all Nike fresh, looking cool, oh yeah, like we love America. But I don't think many young people, and some even older than young, see America that way any longer. What do you think about that? Stardust.
We've just had
Richard first. Go ahead.
Yeah, we've just had a declining expectations of America. I mean, if I were a Zoomer and I have no life prospects, I don't have a girlfriend, I'm not having sex, and I'm on the internet all day. I mean, I don't know what to say. Should I like America? Maybe that's a better question. I mean, we're not the shit anymore. And I think this also, like, we don't see a path towards greatness that even I, as a young Gen Xer, really did see growing up. And, you know, I lived through the end of the Cold War and all of that kind of stuff. I could kind of, there was a vision, at least for me, of you're part of something really great. And if you're a Zoomer playing video games and masturbating all day, why should you like America? Like, why should you like anything? I mean, I think there's, I mean, there needs to be an injection of purpose and meaning into our civilization, and it's not going to be done via the current elite.
Now go ahead, Stardust.
I think that I agree with both Adam and Richard here that I think a lot of young people are not taught to be proud of America. And I actually still feel like we're part of something bigger. I still feel like, America is still number one. America's the shit. And no other country can even come close to America. But I do think that there is a trend among young people and even older people where they're kind of becoming disillusioned. I'm not really sure what the solution is to that.
See, I want to feel that way, but that way is not true. Like, that's to me, it's retarded to feel that way, because I've done a little traveling, and of course, I live in Mexico in the Yucatan now, in Merida, and I can tell you, I don't miss the United States, and I don't really miss it at all. Other than a few sentimental places and people. I don't know. Maybe it's just the world, the traveling of the last few years that's done that to me. I don't know. Maybe that's it. But I feel a lot less, I guess, tie to the nation that I would be willing to sacrifice for the country. I feel like a lot of people feel like that because the politicians have been robbing us blind. It's been a shit deal for so many years now that a lot of people I don't know if they're going to be willing to sacrifice for the nation when it comes down to it.
I think people have underestimated the amount of work that goes into participating in a country like America. The type of democracy that we have, there's a decent amount of work that the public themselves have to do. And when you slack off on voting or participating in local politics, you're kind of not doing your job. And I don't think we've probably slacked off in emphasizing that. As far as what you're saying, I can see what you're saying.
And I still feel this way. I mean, you're still you're participating in something that's not meaningful. I think there has to be something bigger that comes down from on high. That it's not just I'm going to go vote for another shitty politician and I'm a good citizen. I mean, I think it has to be we're on this train, and this train is headed towards a destination. I think everyone needs that as human beings in our life. And I don't think we have that at this point. And the elite aren't able to give it to us. I mean, I think Joe Biden, to his credit, can give it to us to some degree, we're Americans, bucko, and we get things done. Yeah, that kind of thing. But it's not good enough.
It's not working anymore. Nobody believes it. Like, you hear that and you're just like, yeah, dude, shit sucks. Like, drive around this motherfucker. Like, I mean, I don't know.
Trump was able to do it. QAnon was able to do it in its horrible way. And Bush was able to do it. Obama was able to do it. And I think we've just hit this kind of end stage where we're not dreaming the dream anymore. Like, the music's not playing, and something has to inject that into the system for it to really function.
I don't disagree with you. I agree with what you're saying. I still, as somebody who's traveled as well, I would still choose America over any other country in the world to live in. And I still do believe in this greater America. But really? I think that there needs to be kind of a rejuvenation of this American, the American force, I guess. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just, I guess traveling just, just kind of changed my opinion a bit, where it's like, actually, yeah, this place kind of sucks. They're kind of fucking us over here. Actually, I could live here much nicer, much cheaper. Why do I have any, extra? Not that you're not, disloyal to your country, but anything extra than what I owe. You know what I mean? Like any extra feeling or any extra tie of love, where it's just like, yeah, okay, I'm American. Whereas it used to be, I had real pride in my country and real love for my country. And to be honest, I don't feel that anymore over the last 5 to 10 years. That's just my feeling. I don't know what anybody else can respond and finish up that topic.
Ralph, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. You could travel. I've traveled places too. And I go to some places and I back to America. And I'd way rather be in some suburb of America than lots of places around the world. Or there's some other place in America that's terrible that I'd way rather go to some other country. So it's a mixed bag, but right. It is, I do see the culture is in decline. I want to ask you guys, do you think that America's in decline and it's just kind of a natural thing, organic thing that's happening? Or is this kind of you think there's a bigger things at play here that's almost engineering its fall?
I don't think America is in decline, but I do think that there's probably like a spiritual issue where a lot of people don't know what place they fit in with America.
We need more Judeo-Christian values.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I think we need more community, right? We need more community building, things like that. So we
need more Shiva values. Would that help America? No, we abandoned.
No, I think that there's a truth to the idea that like we used to have a larger sense of community and we don't really have that anymore. And I think that's probably part of the reason why we see people feeling disillusioned and not knowing their place.
How old are you, Stardust?
I'm 31.
So. When did we have this sense of community?
I think even early, even as like 10, 15 years ago, honestly.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah.
Well, that's fair. I wanted to press you a little bit because I remember one of the first 90s? Things I ever saw from Nick Fuentes was he was doing this video. And he was like, guys, we got to go back to ice cream socials and pizza dates and drive-in movie theaters. And we had it right. And what I noticed from him, he was like 18 when he said this, is that he was talking about stuff that might have existed like well before he was a twinkle in his father's eye. And I think he got a lot of this culture about American community and so on from watching Happy Days, so reruns. So he was watching like a parody of the 1950s, basically.
Yeah, I'm not even. I'm not looking at the 1950s, right? I think as early as 10 to 15 years ago, people were more likely to participate in their communities, their neighborhoods. They would have people would go outside.
The internet's changed that, I think, a lot.
The internet has
definitely true. But it's also kind of increased it in a way. You can create a meetup group through the internet. But I think this onset of nihilism was well on its way 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, et cetera. And we kind of look back to the past, but it's actually, we're just looking at some television show we saw. I mean, America's always been like this in many ways. And in terms of Adam's question, is it engineered or designed? I think it is. There is some organic quality to it, but I think it's largely engineered. I think our certain aspects of our ethos and how we've defined ourselves are leading to this point, and those have been on a top-down element. And in your commentary, perhaps you overstate the degree to which people are yearning for the apocalypse,
religious motivations. Yeah,
right. Maybe you overstate it, but you're not wrong. There are absolutely those people. And I think also the degree to which that is present among the evangelical Christian community it shouldn't be underestimated.
Yeah, but then you get like anti-America sentiment from the left and all that's not religious, but right. So they're contributing to it as well. It's not one factor.
Well, I just think we need something to come in to give us meaning. I mean, whatever you want to say about QAnon, at least it was an ethos. Like, Ashley Babbitt was quoting The Storm, and she's going to enter the world of history and take over the government or something before she was shot in the neck. But that was giving her life, which was otherwise meaningless, purpose. And there has to be something. And so I think as America declines, there is going to be new religions, various and sundry, that are going to crop up. I think wokeness, look, the way the conservatives talk about wokeness, it's become hackneyed, where like, if you support raising middle-class taxes, you're woke or whatever. That's ridiculous. But they are getting at something in the sense of like wokeness is a type of religion. And I think it is. I think some kind of QAnon, Trump, MAGA thing is already a religion, and I think could develop into, believe it or not, a kind of formalized one. So I think as America declines, we're going to see just this rebirth of just total
Caesarism, is it not?
Front.
I mean, it's going to be like there's going to be cults of personality like that. I mean, that's happened in Rome, right? Like where these people are just literally devoted to Trump. They don't give a fuck about some federal indictment. Like what? I mean,
well, yeah, there's that, but I think it's even goofier. I think QAnon showed us an example of some weird new religious formation that I think is Christian kind of structurally, but is something else. And even like BLM protests. And remember, when they first started, they actually were nonviolent and not fiery. And it was people like waving their hands and washing feet and talking about the original sin of racism and all. It was deeply Christian. But it was also something new. It wasn't your garden variety Episcopalianism or anything like that. So I think we're going to see formations like this as America declines. I think people are going to be grasping for meaning, and it's going to be just increasingly goofy. But it really does open up space for good religion, because I think we need it. I joked about us being fedora wearing atheist earlier. I think that's a kind of an anti-human position. We are a religious species.
Also,
and we need something.
You see there in the corner, Gwyneth Paltrow about to testify live in a California courtroom. I don't even really know the full details of this case, but the lawyers...
I'm kind of on Team Paltrow, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. Now, what are they? Do you know the details, Richard? Can you tell us?
I don't. Maybe
I don't either. I read like one little blurb about it, and I can't act like I know.
It's just so hilarious. It's like... I saw one headline. I mean, granted, this is just a headline. I'm being like a bad Twitter user, just tweeting out headlines.
Yeah, no,
but
just tell me though.
The guy claimed that he could no longer engage in wine tasting after Gwyneth Paltrow ran him over on the ski slope.
Oh yeah, that's right. No. I remember now. It was about ski slope etiquette, and then there was all these rich motherfuckers on TV yesterday, and I was watching the segment, and they're like, "Everybody knows you're supposed to move to the right." Look, Richard's probably a ski guy. How many times have you been skiing? 1,000,000 times, probably.
Oh yeah.
I've been
skiing 20 times this year.
Yeah, exactly. He's a ski guy. So they're like, the etiquette course is you move to the right when they're coming from the left, or something like that. I don't know. I'm fucking it up. I'm fucking it up.
Thing,
but yeah, depending on who's coming downhill. Now the person who's downhill is supposed to move to the right.
Okay.
So that's what it's over. That's what it's over.
This is the thing. I'm a high-low guy. I like high and low. So really bad skiers are fine, because it's very clear that they're bad, and you can just kind of ski around them or avoid them, and you pity them because they're learning to do a very difficult sport. Skiing.
I would never get on a set of skis. What the fuck? Like, I'm not trying to die
and start skiing.
Yeah, I don't want
you gotta,
to.
Work on
what
it.
The fuck?
And then good skiers obviously are good, and so on. The middle skiers, they have no rhythm. And so they're just going like, you don't know when they're going to turn.
They're more dangerous than any.
Them.
Yeah.
It's very disconcerting.
You can't predict what they're going to do. Like, you know what I mean?
Who goes on a blue. So he'll just be like, oh, look, I'm on a blue. I'm going so fast. So he'll get going like 35 miles per hour, but he's not actually a good skier. And so all of these accidents occur. Don't even get me started on snowboarders who should be banned as a race.
Wow.
You're like
Pretty good.
a skiing supremacist is what that sounded like.
Correct.
I did
So are
like
you
that.
still on her side?
Hey,
Peasants that don't know how to ski.
That was a joke. But
I did see
the snowboarder stuff. They do create a lot of problems. They'll run you down. They're not looking
some are good
They're
people.
on drugs. Some of them I assume are good people, but I'm not even sure about that.
That's a pretty good one. That's a pretty good impression.
All right.
I saw you retweet that this is the most white trial I've ever seen. If somebody tweeted that out,
It is.
retweeted that. I was like, wow, that's pretty. That's Richard's got a good sense of humor there. Like, this.
Well,
Richard has a good sense of humor. We've had Richard on, I don't know, 50 times probably by now. Man, we'll have to do a catalog one day and go through all the Constantinople. You went on a rant earlier. What was it you were ranting about earlier that was close to the I think it was the DeSantis rant, maybe. Yeah, the DeSantis rant was close to Constantinople, honestly. The DeSantis take there. But yeah, basically that's what she's being sued over. So I don't know. I guess
I've heard fondue was involved. I mean,
I don't know. I heard she just didn't move the way she was supposed to move going down the slopes. Is that? I don't really know anything other than that.
I don't. We're talking about a case we just don't know. It's just so kind of funny.
I know, but that never stopped anybody.
Despite everything that I just said, I mean, when you go on a ski slope, you've kind of signed off some liability. You know what I mean?
They got video of it. What?
You're going down a slope on a blue. You could probably be going 35 miles per hour, maybe, and you're on ice and snow. I mean, I don't know. This whole idea of like liability, you've kind of like skiing is more dangerous than people recognize. And you just have to take that into effect. Like this idea of suing someone for an accident on a ski slope. I mean, it's getting this whole thing is a bit tenuous in my mind. I just.
Why would anybody think skiing is not dangerous? You know what I mean? Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
No, that's fucking insane. Think about that.
Also try to sue her though.
Yeah, let me get on a couple of little sticks and go down a fucking snow ice mountain, and that's gonna be safe. Like, what the fuck? Of course, it's not safe. What the fuck? That's crazy. Like
running into a tree at 20 miles per, because you go slower when you're in powder in trees, but you're still going like 20 miles per hour. You can run into a tree. I hate to say it, but skiing is a very dangerous sport. A 30 mile per hour collision on a blue or an avalanche. On a black, you're going slower. This is the kind of funny thing I guess people don't recognize.
Explain what you're saying, blue, black. They don't know. They're not rich. They don't know what you're talking about. Wait. Explain blue and black. They're not,
I've never skied in my life.
They're not cultured like
you.
And
green
us.
Is a beginner.
Like you and me. Go ahead.
And it's groomed. So a snowcat has gone over it and it's kind of synthetic.
Right.
The blue is a little steeper. And so you can go very fast on a blue. A black will not be groomed or be very steep or some combination thereof. So when you go on a black is most difficult. When you go on a black, you're going to be going more slowly by the very nature of it. It's a more difficult run. Now, obviously some extreme skiers flying down a black. Put that aside. Going down a blue, that's kind of ironically where a lot of these collisions take place because you get overconfident. It's groomed, you're flying down, yet you don't really know how to turn and get on an edge. You don't have a rhythm. Rhythm's extremely important in skiing.
Yeah.
And so you just have these like 35 mile per hour car wrecks between people. And it's how one of the Kennedy brothers died. They were playing football.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up a minute ago. Yeah, one of the Kennedys died from playing football, like ski football, which I was like, yeah, that sounds like a really fucking smart idea.
Sport. I love it, but it is dangerous. I mean, like I can't, this whole idea of like blaming someone for a ski accident. I mean, I get it, but it's just like you've signed off on your liability. And when you get on a pair of skis and fly down a mountain. I mean,
she's rich though, so I mean, they just that's probably had something to do with it. Their decision to sue, I would imagine.
No question.
What's more white supremacist, skiing or hockey?
skiing.
Yeah,
Probably cost more. You know,
Really?
Gwyneth Paltrow. I saw a
Hockey is
clip
so
of.
violent, right? Hockey is a very violent.
You saying white people are violent?
No, I'm not saying. I'm not. Okay, I can't make these types of jokes. Actually, you guys would be surprised. I get flamed. Okay, if I make any jokes, but God forbid. I'm just saying, everybody makes jokes about me. I feel like I should be able to make jokes about people. But I'm just saying, hockey, people are very violent. And if
that is a violent sport.
Yeah, I would say that would be more like you were looking for something extreme, that people send each other to the hospital frequently for hockey. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
That's why it's based.
They don't fist fight in cricket?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think that. Yeah. No.
Actually, I don't think they do. I don't know if they do or not.
Did you guys see the clip of?
Go ahead.
Did you guys see the clip of Gwyneth Paltrow where she was talking about the 90s, how great the 90s were before cell phones, where she could get away with doing coke at the club?
Gwyneth Paltrow is the lady who puts stones in her vagina. Okay, I don't think we need to take any advice from her.
Why does she do that? What's wrong with that?
Apparently, she thinks that putting crystals in your vagina is good for it, which any doctor would cringe at that.
It's like weightlifting. You just put it in there, squeeze it, makes it everything strong and healthy, right?
Yeah,
well,
well,
I'm more on Team Paltrow after this conversation.
She's into natural health, right?
She's testifying live in Los Angeles right now. By the way, we got another subscription over on kick.com. Thank you for that. Let me look through for some questions here, and we'll start heading toward the exits. I don't want to keep everybody all day. That's a good panel, 2.5 hours. And then we'll do this again, hopefully, maybe with some of the same participants if they want to. But let me find the questions here. Spoods said, an Indian shrewdly worked his way up to CEO at a tech company recently. He fired about 1,000 Americans and offshored all their jobs to India. And Indians, white people, definitely the ones that made this stuff legal. Pot Sticker says, classic Killstream. What does the panel think of alt hype?
What? I don't know what that is.
Alt hype, the content creator alt hype. I don't know if you know. You might not know him. He doesn't know him. Do you know him? Stardust. Do you know alt hype?
I do know him vaguely, but I don't have any opinions on him.
I wouldn't expect you to, really. Yeah. By the way, I don't even think Gwyneth is testifying now. It looks like they brought on some other bitch to argue about her testifying. So we don't have to have that up just now. What about you, Richard? He stepped away. I don't think he cares about all hype, but there was other questions though. Ethan, if you feel less tied to the nation, just hold out a little longer, another 20 million or so Indians, Asians, and Mexicans, and surely you'll be waving the flag again, big guy. That's what Spood says. Robert said in 1984, Ronald Reagan was able to win 49 out of 50 states. Could any modern candidate come close to winning that many states? I see us as much more divided than in 1984. I agree 100,000%. And no, I don't think any candidate on the horizon, anywhere on the horizon, could do anything close to that without a military, some type of fascist fake election. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't think so.
That's back when California could have Republican governors.
Yeah. I honestly do not think that could happen. No, without some Saddam numbers going on, you know what I mean? Some Saddam ballot stuffing going on. I don't think that's gonna happen. Let Big Tech. He never got 100% though. He never did get 100%. Saddam only ever topped out, I think, at 98%. There in Iraq, he was a pretty, effective leader.
He would disappear anybody that opposed him, even the slightest.
I'm pro
bit.
Saddam Hussein. I don't give a fuck. I'm open about saying it. We never should have taken him out. He should still be leading Iraq right now, as far as I'm concerned. I don't give a fuck. Now let me say this. What do you say There was a question, one of those Richard could have answered too. Is there anybody who could win 49 out of 50 like Reagan at 84 or right now? And does that make us, prove just how divided we are, that's something like that's not even possible anymore?
Right. It's not possible in the foreseeable future, but I mean, the trend is your friend until it ends. I mean, I think we're getting hyper polarized, but that almost seems to indicate to me that like in the next 20 years, it's going to break in a different way, because it can't keep going like this.
I don't either.
So
something has to happen.
Like
I don't
the horseshoe effect. It'll
either.
get so polarized that everybody will like some outsider.
I feel like me and you've been agreeing a lot today. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like we've been agreeing a lot today. Yeah, I don't think it can
The
go
Rock.
much further down.
That's
this.
who it'll do it.
Stardust, any thoughts there? We already talked a little bit.
To be honest, I don't even remember what the question was. So,
is there anybody who can win 49 out of 50 states? You think that's even possible?
I don't know about that. I don't think so.
Not in 2024, but it's this interesting question, because you look at this trend.
Well, if there's a military coup, I bet there could be.
Right, but it's like surely that would break at some point. It can't. Like, can we become more polarized when like 20% of Republicans?
I mean, do you think that's totally out of the question?
I mean,
is a military coup of some sort totally out of the question, given the ineptness of the political class, that at some point the military just takes power and invalidates?
Well, I think they're just as incompetent. Now, I don't really see that happening.
I mean, it would take a powerful, military leader for sure, but I don't rule something like that. I don't rule out something like that happening. They fuck it up so bad one day that they just, gulag all those people and just cancel Congress. And there's a military
You're just
commission.
indulging.
I'm serious. I'm dead serious. I'm not supporting that. I'm just saying I can foresee it happening because they've been so inept for so long that it's like, that's not crazy. That's happened in countries all over the world. People, people who think this Constitution is
a kind of front.
Well, yeah, of course. Well, that's how Augustus. That's how Augustus operated too. Augustus was always approved by the Senate. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, I'm sure there'll be some kind of front. Yeah, of course. Let Big Tech call in and Jesus pill them on these heathens, or he's trying to call in now. These people need Jesus, and why am I not allowed to put slurs in power chat? I wanted to use the F slur instead of people or heathens. Spood says one more monolingual enclave of Mexicans here in California, and I think it will be rejuvenated, as Stardust says, into the golden state that it once was. Richard Spencer Aryan Spirit AI is what this says, which I don't know what that is, but
some of you may recall Trump's comments in 2015 or 2016 about how if Ivanka wasn't his daughter, he'd be dating her.
GPT could be
sort
president.
Of politically correct Scott Adams.
I don't know what this is.
We'll hand over the country to Microsoft
was
AI.
Him saying, albeit crudely, that if he came across a woman
isn't
with
that
the same
like a
desirable
Marvel comic
attributes
book
as
narrative, like the Kree or something?
Yeah,
I think an AI rules them.
That's kind of like
crazy.
Zeitgeist was a little bit like let
that
the
sounds like
supercomputer
you
decide
saying
where
that.
all the resources
No, that
go.
legit sounds like you saying that. Listen.
Ivanka, he'd be vying to court her. I want to suggest a darker, dare I say,
it's a little bit off. If you listen, it's a little bit. You can tell a little bit. Yeah. There's a This is it.
Let me hear it.
I think the sentiment Trump was expressing there.
I don't think it didn't come through on my.
Was a residual
it's not coming
manifestation
through?
of the Aryan spirit.
Can you guys hear it?
Not in the small.
Can you guys not hear it at all?
No.
Oh,
no, I want to hear this before we
all right, hold on. Let me
call it quits here, because this is actually really scary.
People have already done this to me. There's a video on BitChute.
It's oh my god.
It should play. Let me see if it'll play over here. Let me pull it up in this window and see if you can hear it. Excuse me. I need to not
That's the case.
You can't hear it?
Some of you may recall Trump's comments in 2015 or
You still can't hear it. Okay, give me a second. I'll put it on the right audio track. I don't know why you wouldn't be able to hear it, though. Very strange. Very strange. All right, I'll do this. I know how to kung fu this shit. All right, let's see.
Elaborate on why I think that is the
No, it's
case.
still not working, is it?
Some of you may recall Trump's comments in 2015.
I don't know why it's not coming through.
I've heard an AI of my voice, and it was pretty good. Although I think myself or anyone who knows me could pick it out. Much like those Trump photos of him getting arrested. You know, if you just flash it in front of your face, you might believe it. But then if you look at it, there's just something off, uncanny valley. But I mean, we're very close to like not knowing what is real. We're very close.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. You guys
this is like really horribly serious.
You guys can
it's
hear
not AI robots.
You can hear this, right?
It's something else that we need to worry about. But
no, I guess they can't. I don't know. That's weird. Let me try. I guess maybe it's the mix minus. I'll try to turn it on, and then I'll see if you can hear it. What about? Can you hear it now? I don't know. That's weird. I might have to get a new roadcaster because that's crazy. Y'all could hear stuff I was playing earlier, though, right? I thought. Yeah, that's why I don't. Oh, you know what? I'll just pull it up on Chrome. Let me see if that'll work. Maybe it's just like a browser issue for some reason. That could be. Okay, let me try that and tell me if you can hear it. You still not hear it? That's weird. I don't know why. It sounds just like you. See if you can play it. Can you play it through your speaker, Adam? I don't know if you're able to do that or not. It's actually crazy if you hear it, Richard. Yeah, or like, yeah, I guess we could do that. Yeah. Yeah, we could do that. All right, let's just do it like that. Yeah, turn it on Cozy right now, and I'll play it for the next minute and just listen to it. Or I could just send you the link. Can you play it through the audio? Yeah. I could do that, actually. I could just share the screen, I guess. Yeah. I didn't think about that. Okay. Yes, the entire screen. All right. I haven't done that in a while. I don't know what's up with my roadcaster. Now I'm like, ugh. Okay. Can you... Can you hear it? Still not? Wow. That's crazy. I don't know, but the bandana is awesome. It says they're all muted on Cozy. Let's see. We can't hear it either. It says they're all okay. Let's see. Okay, well that would be a problem. Why would they be muted on Cozy?
"20 minutes later, like within that 20 minutes of time, all hell could break loose." I mean, and the ability, even for normal people to, are you playing it?
Wait, no, I'm trying to see if they can. I'm trying to restore.
Even
sound.
with normal people, I mean, you know, there were people complaining about girls, their face was like morphed onto a porn actress. And, you know, this can be extremely traumatizing for just average people. I mean, I don't even,
you know what?
I don't
They
even
want to
have
go.
an answer to this outside of like, I support Luddites.
They want to go
destroying
hardcore,
this
Richard.
technology.
I'm not going to lose. I refuse to lose, sir.
Okay.
And so I'm going to hook this up to the Roadcaster, and I'm going to grab this fucking clip, and I'm going to send it to my Slack notepad, and I'm gonna pull it up, and I'm gonna play it through the Bluetooth. Connection unsuccessful, you motherfucker. All right. Yeah, pair asshole. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Fucking piece of shit. All right. I think it's connected. You better connect. The road's acting up. I don't know. This is kind of weird. If not, I'll just play it through my phone. Yeah, it is connected now. Okay. All right. Now,
just play it on your phone and hold it up to the mic.
Yeah. That's what I'm gonna do. Well, I could do that, but no, it's you should be able to hear it. Let's see. Okay. Oh my god. All right, hold on. Work, damn you. Okay. Oh, I know why, because it didn't go through.
Politically correct Scott Adams' IDW take at the time was that this was him saying, albeit crudely, that if he came across a woman with the same desirable attributes as Ivanka, he'd be vying to court her. I want to suggest a darker, dare I say, Straussian interpretation. I think the sentiment Trump was expressing there, either consciously or unconsciously, was a residual manifestation of the Aryan spirit. Not in the small-minded, octoroon, ruralite, fuck your cousin sense, but in the very primal destroy the world, Indo-European, Volsungian, or Wagnerian sense. I mean, if you're not willing to deflower your daughter or sexy little sister once every few generations in spite of the dysgenic costs, you're essentially cucking on the true romance question.
It goes off.
I can already hear the insolent middle American objections in the back about optics or whatever. But if we want to win, it might be time to scare the normies a little bit. Hashtag Trump 2024. 2 scoops, 2 terms. Cope, seethe, dilate.
All right.
Worth it.
A bit much there.
That sounds very real.
Yeah, he uses the same vocabulary that Richard would use.
Or whatever, or they're just interesting little tidbits that do resemble my speech. Yeah, is this not horrifying? I mean,
holy shit, dude! Yeah, that sounded just like you. Like there's a couple little ticks where I could pick it out, but I wouldn't pick it out like right off top. It would take me hearing it a couple times, and I'm like, oh, okay. I see
exactly.
Think about like some anonymous person can make something like that, put it up on the internet, and it just gets copied and copied and copied, and it's just you don't know the original source. Nobody will ever be held accountable, and then there's just complete character assassination lies out there on the internet, putting words into your mouth. It's so dangerous.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see that, yeah.
Megazuna says, Stardust is such a revelation. Wow, I think I'm falling in love, is what they said there. Do you get a lot of admirers, male admirers? You're not single.
Really, to be honest with you. I think half of these people are trolling. Honestly.
What do your DMs look like? Are they full of the gropers?
Whatever. You get off.
Well, it's funny enough. The first time I went on Killstream, I'm pretty sure like 75% of the super chats coming in were asking me about my nipple color, which is really strange. But yeah, other than that, like, generally audiences know that I don't really respond to that kind of stuff. So I don't know why they send it.
Did you ever answer the question or did you?
I never answered the question. No, because it's nobody's business. So,
well, I mean, we know the answer. Anyway, let's go ahead and play the Francois. This guy actually hates me, but he watches my show every day, so I like him. He sent this in. Go ahead.
I came on thinking Richard Spencer was this crazy white supremacist. I'm shocked that as a liberal black man myself that I find myself agreeing with him on a lot of his views. It's a nice surprise.
Wow.
My new fan base.
Nice.
I did call for snowboarder genocide, so
that's probably winning over some of that base. Yeah.
Right, the liberals actually like that. They're like, yes, yes, finally.
Well, I appreciate all you for being on the panel. We cracked the goal right here on the panel, as a matter of fact, for the whole day. And I appreciate you guys. Hopefully we can have this mix or some some of you guys at least out of these 3 back for some more panels. I think Stardust thrives in the panel environment as well. I love having her on here to mix it up and kind of throw in a curve. Because you have the same old guests. Not that you guys are like that. But
we can't just have 3 white guys talking here. We need some diversity.
I saw somebody pissed at first. I saw somebody pissed at first, and they're like, "Oh, Stardust is here." It's like, yeah, actually, that's a good thing, dude. Like, we want somebody to mix it up a little bit, and hopefully, we get some other folks on the left or center left, whatever you want to call it, to come into some of these panels as well. So that's the idea here. But I want to thank her, and since ladies first, give her the chance to say whatever she wants to say about today's show and about where to find her and about where to promote her stuff.
Well, thanks for having me on. I always appreciate it. I do like audiences that should dislike me. So, I just love it. So you can find me at youtube.com/Stardust streams or twitch.tv/Stardust or twitter.com/tweets from Star. So thank you for having me.
The inimitable Richard Spencer, how did you like today's show, sir?
Yeah, this was fun. I really enjoyed this panel, and it was very laid back as well.
I think so too. This was one of the more fun ones we've done, I think. Tell people about what you're doing though.
Well, you can find me on Twitter, and please subscribe to my Substack. So I'd appreciate it, and we'll have people like Stardust and Adam on, to get interviewed.
Sure.
Stuff like that.
That'd be great. Mr. Adam Green, another Killstream Hall of Famer. Promote your stuff, sir, and tell them where to find you.
Thank you, Ralph. Appreciate you for inviting me on. It's good to be back. Good to meet Stardust and talk with Richard. And you can find more of my videos at nomorenews.org, where you can find the Odyssey, BitChute, Twitter, Gab, Telegram, all those links.
I think you should get on kick.com too. They've been rolling pretty hard at kick.com, and I know I sound like a super shill, but actually their staff accidentally showed this video with a dox in it the other day, and they banned me, and I was like, oh, my channel's banned. And then they actually knew the situation though. They're like, we knew you were watching another video. We only gave you a 1-day ban. I was shocked that the staff actually knew what was going on and have been responsive. So I would suggest maybe looking at kick.com as well as another alternative.
Is that video streaming? Live streaming?
Yeah, that's live streaming. But anyway, I want to thank all of you once again. Some of my favorites, 3 of my favorites here. Have a good weekend and enjoy yourselves. And be safe.
Thanks. You too.
You too, Ralph. Take care, guys.
Bye-bye, guys.
See ya. Thank you.
Boom! The Supreme Panel.